Oh, sorry, I muted it. Welcome to the election night coverage for Kentucky. This kind of big night. I'm a little bit shocked on how the media is treating it so far, but we're going to come back in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to eat a half a wrap, and we're going to come back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to pregame this because I think this is a bigger night for several reasons than we're hearing about so far. There are other races going on in Pennsylvania, without a doubt. There are other things happening tonight. But when we get back, I'm going to tell you why I think Kentucky really is a big deal as far as the presidential primary and the polling is concerned. All right, so stay tuned, share, like it, spread it far and wide. We'll be back. I'm leaving it up on the screen. Links in the comment section. Follow along. People's Pundit. Be right And I'm back. Not much going on here. I was really going to wait until 5:45, which may have to pop off again. All right, so what does turnout look like today? I was going through some. You never can tell. It's all anecdotal. You leaving?
In like 5-10 minutes.
In like 5-10 minutes? All right, well then I might as well say goodbye to you now because in like 5-10, I can't say goodbye. I'll be in it. Well, just because I'm going to start, ranting. And so say goodbye to everyone, Laura.
Deuces, everybody.
Deuces.
Keep my hubby company.
They will. Laura's got to go to a concert for our son. I'm going to miss it. I think it's the first one I've ever missed. That's the price of politics, folks. That's the price of politics. Record every second of that concert. Or not every second. Stop every second that he's in it. And then in between, you can stop it because if you don't, like sometimes when they take times going into different.
You're telling the producer how to.
Since I'm the one who always records them, then I'm just telling you that's how it's, typically.
And you work cameras real well too.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, mute yourself a few times.
I did mute myself coming in.
I'm sure.
I did. Right, guys? I totally did. I totally did.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Bye, guys.
They're saying goodbye.
Tune in later.
All right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this may be potentially, a quicker call. The polls close early anyway, so that's what's interesting. Even if it's a tighter race than polls suggest, which it very well may be, or it may not be. But even if it is, the polls close so early. If we come down and look at it, all right, polls are open at 6 a.m. Ooh, that says Mountain Time, local time. It actually is Eastern time. Right? I believe I'm correct with that. I believe this is wrong. I believe I am correct. I'll just do what everybody else did. All right. That's generally, watch this. You'll generate, and I'm gonna refresh it just so it shows it. But generally, what you'll see other people do is just local time. Local time. That's all local time. Oh, okay, all right. Well, is it? Because for those who don't know, there's a funny thing about the state of Kentucky, isn't there? Right? Yup. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I was looking at some of, and let's see if I can pull up. But that was at 5. Actually, it was just not that long ago. Let's see if I can get some real quick. So at 5 o'clock, let's see where we at. And I'm going to give a brief rundown here, but I had some turnout estimates here from people. Jefferson County, a quarter after 4, they were at 10 p.m. But some people who were like in the Linden area thought it would be 10 to 15% at that time. So maybe a little bit higher. If it is, because it is an early state, Kentucky's one of the first during presidential elections to start rolling. If it is an early state, and it's not a high turnout. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not saying. I know some people seem to be like thrilled with this, but Jefferson County Clerk's Office at 4:20 said 66,125 people had voted at 4:20 p.m. As of 4:15. That's about 10%. So it doesn't matter what Linden area said or others like that. It was lower. All right. Let me give you the rundown here of why I'm thinking this race is more important than people suggest. If Cameron loses this race in an upset, all right, Cameron has had the lead for months. He had a large lead. And then there were 2 Emerson polls, one last month, which showed that the race was getting closer. I believe it was about 8 points. All right. And I thought I did put the RCP average in there, but I guess I didn't. Let's pull it up though, so we don't blow smoke out of our butt. Okay. All right. So if we look at, there it is. Let's look at the Republican. I mean, look, Trump's lead in Kentucky now is monstrous, just monstrous. Yeah. So at one point it was down to Cameron by 8. And then Cameron had a lead of 26 in that very same poll. And then it went down to 6, last month. Mason Dixon had it at 26 as well. And then another poll had it literally like 35-10. It was a blowout. Now, the final Fox 56, which is local, conducted by Emerson, has Cameron with a 17-point lead. It could still make for a weird night as the way the results are reported in Kentucky. All right. Let me read a few of these as we go because I think it's important. Let's start with the Democratic side. The Kentucky primary for governor on the Democratic side features incumbent Governor Andy Beshear, challenged by Jeffrey Young, Pepe Martin. I mean, look, there's no challenge here. I was like going down the line and I'm like, this is ridiculous. According to the Morning Consult poll, Governor Beshear is the most popular Democratic governor, not only in a red state, but across the country. 6 in 10 voters approve of the job he's doing as governor, while just 34% disapprove. That's supposed to be a sign, for crying out loud. That's very good. I mean, look, honestly, for somebody who had lockdown issues, and that's what Cameron went after Beshear on, as well as other things, locking down the churches, the speech Trump gave for him. All right, which I don't want to jump the gun here, very much focus on opening the churches, listening to the media, talk to people on the way out of the polling booths today. It sounded clear to me that there were Republicans who would pick up the phone maybe and say, yeah, I somewhat approve of the job that Andy Beshear is doing. But at the end of the day, this experiment with having a Democrat as governor, if there's a pandemic, if there's something like that, we can't trust him and he's got to go. So, I would vote for the Republican come November. 6 in 10, however, job approval is very strong. And gubernatorial elections, as I have told you before, are the least strict when it comes to partisan leans in a state. The partisan voting index is not as strict. Only 34% approve. But regardless, he'll have to outperform the state's strong partisan lean. It's a Trump plus 26 state in November if he hopes to survive re-election. And right now, Trump's lead in this state is massive. All right. Trump's lead is, if I could get to it sometime this millennia, 56 points. Trump 70, DeSantis 14, Pence Haley, excuse me, Pence Haley, Pence 4, Haley 3, Vivek 3, Christie 2, Scott 1, Hutchinson 0, Sununu 0. All right, so very big lead. This will be pitted as I kind of wonder how, even though Cameron started to widen his lead out a little bit more, I wonder how much that question from Emerson really mattered. And it's interesting that it's Emerson, that most of the polling that we have here is conducted by Emerson. Why? Because if you remember in 2022, Emerson didn't have very much luck accurately gauging MAGA candidates. They did all right in Pennsylvania. They did not do that well in some of the other states. In one, they really didn't do well, which was Arizona. They thought their final poll was Karen Taylor Robson by 1. So they changed up a few things I've noticed when they're polling Republican primaries to try to get the more MAGA vote, which they missed in a lot of these states. All right. So if Emerson is correct, Emerson shows a much stronger position for Trump in the Republican primary. They typically do poll I can't say typically. In 2015, Spencer did a much better job. And I was there. I remember. He did a much better job of polling the true state of the Republican races than some of these other polls. Landmark Communications made it look like it was such a close race in Georgia. You had Indiana, their flagship university, actually put out a Cruz +2. He got crushed, and that was the end of it. Marco Rubio really believed that he was catching last-minute steam, and he got creamed. All right, so Emerson did a decent job by 2022. They had some issues with the Republican versus MAGA versus traditionalist establishment. I don't even like saying traditionalist. Their establishment, all right? It's the consultant class. They're consultant class candidates, which is, frankly, now that voting's almost done, I can feel a little bit more comfortable just being honest with you. They're the that's what we have here tonight. We have a young, non-white attorney general who is a rising star in the Republican Party and got the coveted Trump endorsement, is backed by the president, versus the former UN ambassador, who is a mega donor, Kelly Kraft. Been funding, self-funding, and bombarding over the last 2 months, but really in the last 4 weeks, it has been relentless. Bombarding. Kraft dominates the airwaves. And Ron DeSantis endorsed Kraft. So it is. Why is that? Well, same people, same advisors, same group, same consultant class. And by the way, you see that fretting over DeSantis's PAC statement? Let me translate what happened in the headlines today. They released that PAC statement after CNN. Steve Cortez just took a job at that PAC. They probably did not consult him because they're tone deaf and brain dead. They did not consult him because I can't imagine that statement got past Steve Cortez. He's smarter than that. And then he flipped his shit and then began to leak to everybody about how that was not approved by senior communications before it was released. Well, the problem I have with that is it indicates to me more that they're backbenching Steve Cortez. They only want him to go on CNN like he did the other night, last night, I think it was, or 2 nights ago. They only want him to go on Fox Business and be the Trump betrayer and play the betrayer role. They don't really want him to give their input. Why? There were 2 statements, folks. There was one before the CNN town hall, and then there was one after it. They both sounded like they were written by former Jeb advisors who invited the Lincoln Project to put their eyes on it. That's how it was written. So it's not just one statement that he got sidelined on or blindsided on. It was the pre and post town hall statement. Anyway, you also have, again, Emerson being much more bullish on Trump in some of these primaries than some of the other polls, including ours, even though we're certainly on the bullish side of the spectrum. I didn't poll Kentucky, though, so I can't give you any insight on whether or not I think that may have any degree of connection or relatability to what we see here tonight. I just personally am inclined to think they asked that question. Where are you on this primary? And who are you voting for despite, these endorsements? And Trump had a much more dominant endorsement power this time in this poll. Secondly, if you go through the Kentucky local media, I was just looking at one. It was and I'll tell you who it is right now. The Courier-Journal, which is owned by, I believe, USA Today. They were interviewing people, and there were a lot of hardcore Trumpers saying, I voted for Cameron. And then there were a lot of not hardcore Trumpers who were just saying, yeah, I know Trump endorsed him. And it's not key or linchpin to my decision, but I backed Cameron. I think he's, I think he's the closest to us. And something about Kraft, too many ads for me. Things like that were all over these exit interviews. And that tells me that Cameron's obviously going to get the Trump, endorsement enthusiast vote. And Cameron's also getting this part of, the people who say that it doesn't matter all that much to me. It matters, but not all that much. No opinion whatsoever. And that's not good for Kraft. That's just it's not a good thing. Interesting enough, you have Agricultural Commissioner Ryan Quarles, the last one that I mentioned in here for a reason. The Agricultural Commissioner has been targeting rural areas and has gone the route of, I'm going to get local support and I'm not going to get involved in this national dance. If it turns out that Cameron needs to rely on the rural vote and it looks closer than it is, it may be because you see Quarles doing a little bit better, or maybe more than a little bit better than polling thought he would do in rural areas, and that's a vote that Cameron needs. I just don't know if that's going to be the case yet. It also could be that this is going to be blown wide open, and we're going to get some early vote that's going to look a little bit weird, Is there? And it's not even. I didn't even look there. It didn't even appear to be that much. But the election day will roll in, and we'll end this really quickly tonight. I mean, it could be that way, but we'll see. I will tell you that Kelly Kraft crushed Daniel Cameron in money spent. So it is possible you see a tighter race than expected. The media is dying to pitch this as a Trump versus DeSantis proxy fight. They will do it. And if Kraft comes out, if the consulting mega donor class candidate comes out, I'm being real. I'm not being a dick here. Excuse my language. I'm not saying this to be like that I'm not being impartial or objective. That's who Kelly Kraft is. Nobody's even hiding it, or at least not that nobody's hiding it. They're not volunteering it. But Kelly Kraft is a mega donor, full-blown establishment, and self-funded like crazy, and has all of the, the rhino consultant class all around the campaign. Yeah, I'm reading some of your comments as I do this. You guys seem to get what I'm saying. They would love for this to be much, much closer. In a hypothetical situation where Bashir's reelected, did DeSantis people shut up about the governor's elections predicting presidential elections, or did they cover their ears and continue to say DeSantis will win Florida by 20 points in 2024? They will just continue to bellow that DeSantis will win Florida by 20 points. Bashir is a great example, and I'm not sure. Did I mention Andy Bashir the other day when I went on my little rant about gubernatorial elections not having predictive value? I probably did. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But it's a great example. They do not have predictive value. If Andy Bashir was the Democratic nominee for president, he would get clobbered by the Republican nominee for president. That's just a reality. All right. All right. So we will wait. I will do my best, by the way, to wait for the decision desk. If I do so happen to say that this race is over, and I personally call it myself, it does not mean that it reflects the decision of the decision desk HQ. Which, by the way, thank you for partnering with the People's Pundit tonight. People's Pundit's coverage of the Kentucky gubernatorial elections, primary elections, is in partnership with the Decision Desk HQ. And we are excited and glad to hear it. All right, so we will see how things are rolling in. It is a very big ballot. See, it says show more candidates. Very, very big ballot. Ryan Quarles is all the way down here. This is obviously in no real order. So it does look like they were trying to be alphabetical and then just kind of got messed up. But we'll have them both. I chose to put them on the same page this time, like Decision Desk does, by the way, because I figured at the end of the day, who wants to go back and forth and scroll back and forth, right? Not me. Let's see. What do we got here? Trump up in Georgia. Not surprised. I'm surprised it is that close, but it is landmark. Looking at the ticker here. What am I missing? Reuters, Ipsos. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the last one here was Cameron. I wish there was more. It's an important race, but I think for the most part, they wanted there to be some level of mystery on how this race would go. This way, if Cameron clobbers Kraft, I think it's possible. Listen, I'm not kidding. It's possible that Cameron wins, that Quarles comes in second, and Kraft comes in third. Kelly Kraft comes in third. I honestly wouldn't be shocked at that. Why? Because Quarles gained with men in the last Emerson poll of this primary. Because polls are going to close very soon. So let me just get through a couple of these and then I'll explain it to you. But Since last month's survey, Cameron gained 3, while Kraft lost 6, and Quarles lost 2 points. But when you looked at Quarles' support increases when you make the undecided choose to lean, Cameron rises to 35. Kraft only holds at 18, but Quarles moves up to 15. And in fact, where's that coming from? A lot of it's coming from men. Men have shifted away from Kraft by 10 points, according to the Emerson poll, 29 to 19% in the last month. And that comports with what we saw in some of these exit interviews from the Courier-Journal, which was a lot of older men who said, look, at the end of the day, I went with Cameron because I think, one of them I'll read because he's pretty indicative of a lot of them. Where is it? 57-year-old Republican, John Willits, voted for Attorney General Daniel Cameron. He said he was not influenced by President Trump's endorsement, and he could be full of it, actually. I mean, honestly, if the media comes up to you, do you say that? But he just said, but I supported Cameron because of all the candidates. He's the one I trusted the most. And he's got name ID. He is the Attorney General. He sued. He got a lot of love for the church the church lawsuits, so, I think they probably gave Kraft a look, and money has power. Like, look at how much Karen Taylor Robeson was able to close the gap, guys, with how much money she threw at Kerry Lake, $5 million in the final stretch. I mean, some ridiculous, ridiculous. No, if Kraft gets crushed, DeSantis still is not going to change course because the consulting class has their hooks in Ron DeSantis. All right. They have their hooks in him. I should have warned people on locals that there was going to be a countdown for non-supporters. Just like there is I couldn't do that on YouTube, but YouTube is member only. So, I mean, local supporter only, that is with election coverage, but I should have gave people a warning and I didn't. So sorry about that if that's the way it happened. All right. If you're in line when the polls close, which they are, then you are allowed to cast your vote. All right. Kentucky does have some time issues, so we just wait. We got to chill. There's not a whole lot we can do but chill. Some will start to trickle in and we'll just wait. But there is, from what I understand, let's see if there was a recent update that does look like there was some people waiting online. It was a steady stream today, not super heavy, but a steady stream. So, it's possible. And I'll do my best to indicate whether or not we know. Sometimes we've seen this in the past. Don't get too concerned about the estimated votes in, or the votes in is an estimate. And we don't know for sure. Sometimes we'll get a little early and then, we'll get the election day. They're dramatically different, although there has been, I'm not going to get into that, but they'll be dramatically different. And we'll obviously try to keep you updated on if we hear when those estimates change, because sometimes election days are less than we thought. So that changes and it's adjusted and it goes up much sooner. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we see the election day is more and that adjusts in the opposite direction, obviously. So if it's more and we thought that it was 2/3 were reported, then it's adjusted down maybe to 52% reported. All right. That makes sense. All right. So let me just take a look at some of your comments when we're all waiting here. Did I? About the border? Or was it another one? I did not see that. I shall check it out now. Poso. If you guys got it, I mean, I think I read one where he had me, and I'm just not sure if that's red meat is not a health threat. Oh, there I am. Yeah, there I am. Well, that's the absolute truth. God's honest truth. He only needs 3 states to be God, you couldn't have picked a better picture of me. Trump's win to get to the presidency would require Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. Yep. For those who Jeremy. Jeremy's thing is out. Somehow, probably because Laura's been busy. I didn't see that. I got to retweet Jeremy, but it is a big deal that the census changed how things are now. So You don't need Virginia anymore, folks. You don't even need Pennsylvania and Michigan anymore. Any Republican candidate, and Trump has made it obviously demonstrated that he can win Wisconsin. It's always close, but he can win Wisconsin. Even in 2016, when Pennsylvania looked like the stronger state, Wisconsin was called first. I don't know if you guys remember that, because we knew what was in around the state from Dane and Milwaukee, and Trump was obviously doing well enough, so he was able to do it. The electoral map changed, and now you don't need to run the table the way you used to. Wisconsin also is less urban than Pennsylvania or Michigan. So, almost 2/3 of the vote is non-urban vote in Wisconsin. So, while you're doing worse in Waukesha, and all Republicans are, they're slipping as time goes on. It doesn't matter if the name's Trump or not. If you do better in, lumberjack country, we talk about all the time. If you do better in Sauk, if you do better in Dorr than most Republicans, like Dan Kelly or Mitt Romney, then you can still win. You could still win the state. So there we have it. I'm going to refresh because I actually expect there to be something here by now. So give me a sec. Sometimes I refresh, sometimes I don't. Could be we're just a little bit behind, but we'll see. I'd be shocked if they had these issues again. I really would. And I'm not sure that, totally feel like I want to believe too many other ones, so I'll just wait for ours. They adjust, they change. I don't like it. So does Decision Desk. It happens. There are just errors in reporting sometimes, and that's just the way it is. So Andy is obviously crushing it. The first dump I am seeing, I'm going to look at an API here. This is very, very few votes, but it's coming out of Laurel County. Andy Beshear took 96% of it. Daniel Cameron took 37% of it. Again, Ryan Quarles is at 32.4%. Kelly Kraft, 22.2%. And this is what I was saying. This is very possible that this can happen. All right. If this happens and she doesn't do good enough and Kraft doesn't do well enough, in the urban areas, then this most definitely can happen. So that would be obviously a major embarrassment for Team DeSantis, but we'll just have to see. This is where you're going to see it. And I'll probably refresh in a bit here if it doesn't pop up on this end very soon. But this is Laurel County. This is where we see some results here. And it's astonishing how close, by the way, at least in order. Primaries are funny to poll. They really are. So, if that was the general, and it's not going to be, but if that was the general theme of the night, then Emerson did pretty good. They did pretty good. But we'll see. It's very early. Very few. It's looking like about 1/5 of Laurel County. Let's refresh it. This needs to come online here soon. Come on, guys. One thing about the South, I love sweet tea. You know what I really like? While we wait here for results, we might as well talk about it. You know what I really like? And no, I'm not getting advertisers' revenue from this. I'll always tell you if I am. Lipton. What is it? That gold leaf or whatever it is? They get the tiny little baby tea leaves from like China. China. Come on, Kentucky. Let's go. And you may have Decision Desk holding some back. Let me just see, because sometimes they'll pass comments along, and I just want to make sure. Let me look at my other computer. See if they give us any kind of an update. I'll hear it right away, and we'll go from there. I would have had it up earlier, actually, but for some reason or another, it went to spam, which was weird. Oh, you're kidding me. Hold on, guys. I may ask somebody instead of us just texting back and forth, see if he wants to just hop on. Let's refresh. Come on, Laurel. Let's go, Laurel County. You know you reported some. Put it on the map. Put it on the map, DD. Put it on the map. Last time when there was an issue, it wasn't, I don't know if how many people were here for the explanation. It wasn't their fault, actually. Hold on. Yeah. We'll send invite. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, it wasn't their fault. Somebody had done something they're not supposed to do. We all know we're not supposed to do. And that's sad. That's unfortunate. 100%. You can actually share to your online too somehow, but don't mess it up trying to figure it out. I mean, this is the waiting game is the waiting game. That's why it's like presidential elections are like overwhelming, but exciting, and it never stops. Whereas, when you have primaries like this, you just, it's tough. It's tough. So I'm not surprised to see Ryan Quarles doing, at least in this tiny little vote. It's a tiny little vote. It's 20% of a smaller area. I'm not surprised to see him doing that well because he had 25, I think, state. It's on the page, actually, which is being shared right now. But he had like 25 state endorsements, state legislator endorsements. And that was his game plan, and it's kind of smart, at least to put up a decent showing. You might as well, as agricultural commissioner, you got friends in the state legislature that you've, it's an important position, the state legislature, an important position. All right, so there's a little bit, that's just a hair of vote that came in from, here we go. So here we have Knox, and you can actually see Ryan Quarles, Jacob Clark, and Daniel Cameron in that order. This, wow, where is Kraft? Kraft got 0 votes in that little vote dump, and that's a tiny little vote dump, a very small little vote dump. But that's exactly what I was trying to prepare you guys for, that if something like that happened. All right. If this is consistent around, and that's only 1%. If that's consistent around and Bashir took every single 2 votes, and it's a very Republican area. Obviously Bashir is going to do well in these little rural areas. Now there's Cameron coming in. Okay. So now we're going to start to get Laurel, report in through the API, please. All right, Daniel Cameron obviously doing much better. This could be a very embarrassing night for Kelly Kraft. If this is going to continue, because I'm seeing how Laurel is, we're going to have to see how Lexington and Louisville voted, because it's early. It's very early, of course, but this could potentially shape up to be what I was talking about, which is ground game. And local support can help in these races for governor. They don't help for president, by the way. So state legislature, endorsements all around the state of Iowa don't really mean anything. I hate to tell everybody. They don't. But they do here. Because Tip O'Neill's saying all politics is local. That's not really true. What he was talking about, and look, there's more of Laurel. So let me actually see how this went here. There's the report from Laurel. I'm going to have to get rid of that if that's going to be the way it's going to be. I will get rid of this if this is the way this is going to be, folks, because I don't like that one damn bit. Does it go down at all? No. I'm going to have to get rid of that. So obviously Cameron took it by the margin. We said this is not good. And I'll read you that margin from Laurel real quick. It's 37 Cameron, 32 Quarles, 22 Kraft. So overperformance here so far, but it is only the more Republican areas. All right. So overperformance by Quarles potentially, but we'll see. We shall see. We shall hang tight and we shall see. And this is where Decision Desk really shines. They're going to start to burn people soon. They're going to start to blow them away. What's that? 20%, right? Still 22.6. So we're actually estimating that vote share is a little bit more, is in a little bit more than some of the others I noticed. A little bit from Taylor County, which is the first county that Kraft carried. So Cameron's in second. Kraft got 48.7 to Cameron's 27.5, but it's not reported yet. It's 32% of the vote in. Kraft is in the central part of the state, central closer to western. It's here. It's going to come in real soon. And you'll see that will bump Kraft up a little bit. That will put Kraft ahead of Quarles just slightly. Just slightly. All right. As we wait more for this stuff to click in. And yes, let me look. I'm trying to keep up with some of your comments as we go. That probably is a little chunk of early. Let me see. Neil Harris, nearly goodly morning, y'all. Could not. I'm sorry to hear that, Neil. I'm there. I am totally there. Yeah, 240 endorsements between county executives and magistrates. Absolutely. Sue, yeah, I think that Cameron is the strongest. I do think that Cameron is the strongest candidate. I do. In a state like Kentucky, I do. Yes. So with Leslie coming in, Kraft is going to, that's 15% of the vote. It's real close, though. It's a 14-point difference. Kraft carries the early in Leslie as well. And that'll but Cameron still will hold the lead slightly. And Kraft is in the eastern part of the state, southeastern part of the state. Kraft is right here. All right. Give it a second. It'll come in more and more. This is bothering me, though, and I'm going to see if I can't add a little padding so I can deal with this. Hold on. Let's see. I would like to add what I'm trying to do is frankly add a little bit of padding because I can't see. Is that doing it to the Democrat too? Let me just check before. We got time, guys. It's going to trickle in. It's not because it has more room, I suppose. Even here, it's something going on with the Republican. It's because the Republican thing is fewer. There we go. So it bumps it up when it bumps it up when we have this larger spread of candidates out. And just people know that was what Shelby, I believe. Right? If so, that's pretty good news for Cameron, but we'll see. It is a tight. It is looking tight in the early, but may not stay that way. We'll see. Come on, guys. Come on. It does take time for Kentucky. It's one of the ones that report a little bit quicker, but 6:30, it'll start to roll in. And there's the county I told you Kelly Kraft was going to carry. Also, Taylor will be for Kraft. It'll push her up above Quarles. Unless Laurel comes in on the other side of this. And okay, so that's devastating for Kraft. Daniel Cameron took Jefferson County. This is something I was really wondering. Jefferson has some potential. This is very good news for Daniel Cameron. This is very bad news for Kraft. That's a poor performance. I actually thought that Kelly Kraft would do better in Louisville. I did. Now, you have Lexington, you got Frankfort, and it is different. Lexington obviously will matter as well. But the fact that he's doing that much better than I expected in Louisville is a good sign for him. That's a big margin. And it's 12% reported. So there are a lot of votes there. There's a lot of votes in Lexington as well, but Franklin has votes, which is where Frankfurt is. That's a good sign for him. But we'll see. Who's in second? Yeah, Quarles is in second. I don't know that that'll hold. We'll see. We'll see. It may, but yes. Anti-piracy league, yes. Bashir's going to be hard to beat, no matter who the candidate is. And that's why I say I think that Cameron is the better candidate for this gig, for this chance of beating. I really do believe that for beating. A little bit more from Laurel. Okay. Yeah, he's got the best chance in my mind of beating what is a difficult governor. 60% approval rating is really good. All right, so there you can see Carter County going for Kraft. Let's check the margin real quick. I wasn't looking. It's 5 votes. It's 5 votes. It's not even worth thinking about right now. I mean, that's much bigger. I really thought this would be, I might be honest with you guys, I thought this would be like 40-38. I mean, really, I thought it would be closer than this. And what I'm looking at is that between Kraft and Quarles together, they would have still underperformed that. It was a bigger performance than I thought. But he might end up needing it. We'll see. So far, this is weird. Weird patterns, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. All right, so we're going to get Lincoln soon. Is that Lincoln? Did Lincoln come in yet? No, we didn't get Lincoln yet, but Lincoln is about to come in. That's also a Cameron County. Quarles in second, Kraft in third. And Cameron's taking about 39% of Lincoln. So Lincoln is, where are you, Lincoln? You're over here somewhere. I know you are. That's Lee. Come on, where are you? You're around here somewhere. Sorry, guys, I'm not great on the... Even with the... Where are you? Little hook in your thing. Oh, did it already go? Oh, it already did. Oh, sorry. I'll look at it later. Oh, there he is. You really want him on there? I mean, I don't mind bringing him on. It's up to you. Yeah? All right, I'm going to add you, but I'm not going to add you yet. I'm just going to check your audio, okay?
Me yet because I got to change his diaper.
All right, listen, then I'm going to bump you off, and we'll get you on. David Giglio, everyone. He's going to pop in and talk with us. Yeah. All right, let's let Brooksy do his thing, change his diaper. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. All right, so obviously, you have Fayette, which is going to have to go for Kraft here to make this more competitive. And I think that's what a lot of people expected. Let's see what happened in Louisville, which is Jefferson County for the Democrat. Yup. A little bit in there. And we wait. And we wait for more. We wait for more. What are we looking at? About 2% of the vote in? That's interesting. Looks like Republicans are voting. I mean, it's a red state, but it does look like Republicans are voting at a higher rate. I think that's safe to say. They voted at a higher rate. Come on, Rich. I can't stand that. Even though, I mean, very clear. Yo, I hate this, guys. Even though, it's a red state, it is going to matter. We shall see. We shall see. All we can do is wait now. We shall see. Yeah, I saw that, Jeremy. I'm going to pump that out. I'm going to just great conversation I had with, I guess he didn't put out the full episodes, though. I guess he didn't put them out. Yeah, I mean, I basically told this guy that as of right now, it's political suicide to go against Donald Trump in this primary. I have referred to his lead right now as an insurmountable lead because historically speaking, like, look, even the Reuters poll, which has just had him at, 49? They had him down a couple of points. That's statistically within a 50%, range. No candidate, no incumbent candidate in the modern era, even this early, has ever lost. Can things happen for the first time in politics? Well, of course they can. But no candidate in the modern era, folks, has ever lost with a 50+% support right now. And the reason for that is really simple. It's because it's statistically significant. It means now you have to more than just win over persuadable people. You have to change minds. And when you're looking at polls like, look, not for nothing, but TIP and IBD and us, right? Emerson has been really good as well. Although Emerson's a little bit more bullish than we are on Trump. It's still extremely big lead. We've done a good job at this, at these national polls for the last decade, right? So it's on the higher, it's safe to say, it's on the higher end of this historical spectrum. Ted Kennedy was just below at one point this early. It was this early. It was at 40 to 45, depending on what poll you're looking at. And a series of events took him out. A series of events with his past, things that had happened. Here we go. Here's some more with things that had happened. Again, Rockcastle. This is some of these Republican areas. It's not that much of the vote, but it is going to be indicative of how some of these counties are going to go with 29% reporting. Even after we get past like the 12%, maybe there's some early, stuff that comes in. And Kraft is barely, not much, but barely trailing Ryan Quarles. And it looks like his strategy paid off. It looked like his strategy paid off. And if this is the way it's going to be for the rest of the night, it could get really close between him and Kraft. Kraft is going to have to win one of these big major areas. Cameron also is going to take Harlan. It's a not a big vote dump, but again, it tells me Kraft is in second though with that. Quarles behind, but that actually doesn't surprise me. There's some areas here that used to be Democratic areas. In the area of Trump, they moved them over. Used to be Kentucky's 5th district, would be very indicative of that. But that will put Kraft a little bit closer. And they're going to go back and forth like this. A lot of rural votes still out. Remains to be seen who wins Lexington. I'll tell you right now, if it comes in and Cameron wins Lexington, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, and we all can just eat the other half of my wrap and BS for the rest of the night. It's still very early, though. Okay? Very early. I'm just saying, from some of the way these counties are coming in, Robert Barnes and I would call some of these we're going into now the ancestral Democratic counties. And we're not always Republican counties. You're going to see them start to fill in here. And if Cameron does win, there it is. And if Cameron does start to win these, it would be a buffer in case he really got like clobbered in Lexington, right? Or even Frankfurt, but we'll see. Which is, I'm saying the cities, but the counties themselves. Right, he's starting to fill in that southeastern quadrant a little bit, which again, not really that surprised. Letcher's going to go for it's only 12%, and it's very close. These candidates are separated by 2 votes. Letcher's going to come in and Carl's going to be up by like 2 votes. And it's only 12% of what we expect out of the county, but Cameron will be right behind him. It's 28.8, 27.2. It's literally a 2-vote margin because we're only talking about 100-something votes. And Kraft got 28. So again, in third. So we're looking at, a 22-point difference even when that comes in. Actually, that's probably not going to even do it because, there's Carter. That was Kraft's best performing county and so far, but it's 5 votes. We're going to see whether or not this changes as more of these votes come in. I need to start to see these patterns and see if there's any difference in the vote by method. Why am I skeptical of that? Because I am really seeing some targeted areas, some attempts by Republicans to, and actually now, if this keeps up, Democrats could be putting up a pretty decent turnout show. But anyway, there have been attempts by Republicans to boost their share. It's not just Kentucky. Kentucky's is obviously a little different, but in states that have in-person early, Republicans have been able to do better in post-2022 in some of these specials that we've seen. And in 2022, there were pockets of some, but it wasn't enough. Nobody knows. David, you ready? You ready? Is Brooksy? I forgot about you, brother. Are you ready to rock on this? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go, brother. And I know I said that before, but I wasn't really looking. If you guys haven't checked out America First Live with David Giglio, you should absolutely do so. It's a great show, entertaining. He'll give you a whole bunch of nuggets that the establishment doesn't want you to know or hear about. All right, you ready, brother? All right, he's not. All right, we'll get him. We'll get him. Yeah. Take your time. What do we got but time here? I'm telling you, need to wait to see how Lexington rolls in. And there we got some. It's getting close, though, but not quite. Very close. 10 votes for Cameron. 10 votes for Quarles. 4 for Kraft. 2 for Dieters. 2 for Harmon. If Kraft spent all this money and ends up in third place, I can't imagine that's the case, though, if she wins Fayette. If Kraft wins Fayette. I'm sorry I keep saying that. Actually, I'm not sorry. I really don't care. But we'll see. And if Kraft doesn't win Fayette and Cameron's doing better in Lexington, it's a wrap. Do. We're seeing more trickle in. More trickle in, and there it goes. You see what I'm saying? There it goes. So that's what I wanted to know. Would that county hold for Kraft? And it did not. So it was just a little early one. That suggests to me that maybe Carter will as well, but we'll see. With Johnson now at 17.4, Kraft did a little bit better in like the 30 vote dump. It was a very small amount of votes. We'll see. All right. Hold on, David. If you're signaling me, I'm just not sure. There was a talk about changing the rule to runoff in Kentucky. There was talk of it last year. You got to clear 40%. They were talking about a 50% runoff rule. Oh, no, the threshold was 40% in the past, excuse me. It was stripped. I don't remember what year. I could look it up for you guys, but it was stripped. There we go. See, and Quarles won the early dump in Fayette. which is devastating for Kelly Kraft. This is really bad news for Kelly Kraft. Really bad news. Wow. Listen, again, I'll say it again. When it comes to local endorsements, state legislators, magistrates, right? What we were talking about before? A handful of other. He had like 250 of them. That stuff matters when it comes to gubernatorial elections, because gubernatorial elections are local elections. They're local elections, but they don't matter when it comes to presidential elections. I'm sorry, it's just true. Why? Because these typically tend to be very local issues. In this case, that's going to be combined with a lower turnout race, right? You ready to rock and roll, brother? You ready to go? I can't hear you. You got to give me a thumbs up. All right. David Giglio, everybody. David Giglio. And David, I'm not even going to show us for most of the time here, brother. But
can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, brother. Loud and clear.
I'm only hopping on because I can't get you on the phone. So this was the way to get.
I said, you might as well get on.
I'm just
this is where I think Kraft is going to run into a problem, because Cameron took Louisville, which of course is Jefferson County. Nothing to suggest he won't hold it, especially since, the early is always going to be a little bit better or a little bit less MAGA, or typically, and then here we have Ron Quarles taking just a slight lead in Fayette, where Lexington is, which Kraft absolutely spent a ton of money in and needed to do well in order not to be totally embarrassed and embarrass Ron DeSantis and end up in third place here. But it looks like to me, Kelly Kraft could end up, it's a very, very real possibility at this point, ends up in third place. You got wind over there or something?
Oh, well, my landlord still hasn't fixed my AC, so I have the fan on because it's hot.
You got to kill that, brother.
Yeah. Well, it's 90 degrees in this place, man. I'm at the store here, and if you hear the piano, that's Brooksy. He's playing some music. He wants to add some drama to Rich's broadcast.
Brooksy, I got to tell you, David, as the cutest son, was fortunate to get a nice little visit. The cutest son, just happy, healthy, all you can ever ask for out of a kid, David. Really?
Well, I don't know, that poop I just cleaned up was not all you could ask for.
Well, that's part of the job, brother. That's part of the job.
That was a tough one. I'm not gonna lie.
So, what do you? This is, the media was like real silent on this, because Cameron looked to be dominant, but then it was tightening, or at least, listen, there wasn't a whole lot of polling to suggest it was tightening, but it showed that potentially it was going to be, a little bit tighter than some of the earlier polls that suggested, from Mason Dixon and Emerson. The last Emerson was like, what, Cameron plus 17 or 18 or something. This is not good and DeSantis decided, I'm going to endorse Kelly Kraft, the mega donor, David, the mega donor. Just go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, the DeSantis supporters have obviously made it a point to point out, the key races in the last midterms that Trump weighed in on that did not go the GOP's way. Now, we all, you and I both know why they didn't go the GOP's way, but they neglect to bring up the fact that DeSantis also made endorsements in the midterms as well. He backed Joe O'Dea and he got his butt kicked. And actually, when we want to play batting averages, Trump's is still way better than Ron. What candidate has Ron endorsed that Trump hasn't also endorsed that has gone on to win in recent elections? There is none that I can remember. Is there?
That's a really good point. So really, which ones are there that where you can give him credit and credit alone?
Yeah, because some of them they overlapped with endorsements. I don't think there was one, because he's only made a few. It was Joe O'Dea. He might have made a couple others. That's obviously the big one.
That's the big one, brother.
I still don't remember why he made. I still don't know why he made that. And he might have endorsed Brian Kemp, but Trump ended up endorsing Brian Kemp. And Kemp would have won without either endorsement. But Yeah, so I mean, if your guy is the guy who's going to influence voters and his opinion doesn't matter clearly with voters in Kentucky, how are you going to go forward? I mean, if Trump's voice
This is
now,
bad. Shelby, I got to just stop you. Shelby went for Cameron. It's early. But again, David, that's the thing, is that the Trumpier vote gets reported after. Or at least that's been the case. And I don't know that that will hold. But I'm just saying that this is not looking good for.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of the excuse that would be made as to why, oh, well, Trump's guy did better. I mean, obviously the media is probably not going to play it up. And sorry, he's
But
screaming
they
a little
wanted
bit.
to bad, David. You know it. They wanted
Oh,
Kraft
yeah, of course.
to pull this out of the rectum. Right. They wanted Kraft to pull, because Kraft outspent Cameron ridiculously. I mean, it's a major advantage in
Well,
spending.
that's what happens when and that's a big thing too that Team DeSantis is going to have to deal with, because their whole thing is like, well, we're getting all this money from these big mega donors. Well, apparently that money, money is good when you got a persuadable electorate, and people have made up their minds, really. All the money, you can spend all the money in the world, but when you're going against Trump, who has probably the highest, his floor is just so high. And in a state like Kentucky, that's a deep red state. I mean, if I would say if DeSantis was a legitimate threat to Trump, he needs to be able to have influence in a deep red state. Those are your base
David,
voters.
because he's taken the Northeast rich states of New York, New Jersey. He's going to take all those. As of right now, he's taking Florida from him. And excuse me. And then he's going to run through the South like a freight train, like a 58-point lead in the Emerson poll. The Emerson poll is about to come out looking pretty good here, even though they had Kraft in second, which doesn't look like it's going to hold. If
Kraft doesn't finish in second, I mean, that's.
But he said it. Spencer said it. If you read his press release, he said Kraft is cratering, and worse, cratering among men. She's tanking among men, and she's a pretty woman, folks, in case you haven't seen her. Very pretty woman. So should have been, something that they could have done there. Then gotten the DeSantis endorsement, which is supposed to be better with Republican men. Trump's lead right now is being fueled by Republican women. And I'm telling you, that's how, Cameron, no doubt, just benefited in Louisville from that. There's no doubt Republican women were like, okay, well, all right, I'm going with him. And I'm actually curious to see if Fayette, where Ryan Quarles leads, I'm actually curious to see whether Cameron winds up taking that from him. We'll see. But Kenton is like one of the few places here that actually shocked me. 20% reported, and Kraft underperformed Ryan Quarles. It's the north of Kentucky. Maybe that makes a little sense to me. But look at Cameron dominating 42%.
Somebody, I saw an interesting.
So much more vote still out in Jefferson too, David. So much more vote out there.
No, and it's bad results. I mean, your guy, if your guy's trying to beat, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And
that's right.
If you can't even influence a primary electorate to go against Trump's pick, how are you going to convince voters around the country to go against the man himself? Right. I mean, that's basically what it's saying here, because everybody should be theoretically saying, well, Ron wants this guy. And if Ron has to win over the same voters, and he clearly isn't doing it. His opinion isn't matching much. I think, a lot of it has to do with the moves that Ron's team has made himself. I think, you and I talked about it this past weekend. They're very vicious to people who haven't seen the light in their view, and it's very off-putting. And they're electing to play it a little bit safe, with certain issues. They don't want to touch the hot button issues. And I think based on, listen, some people, you saw the Durham report stuff yesterday. I think people are starting to realize that this is serious times. You can't be playing it safe. We need people who are going to go in there with a wrecking ball and not worry about saying the truth and people's feelings. And Ron's handlers aren't going to let him do that, because they're worried about those suburban voters. But
David, let me just stop for a second. Quarles and Cameron are doing better with the suburban vote than Kelly Kraft is right now. That's undisputable.
And I think I think that this has to do with, I think people are scared for their family's future, and they know they need somebody who's capable of protecting them, and they can't have a wishy-washy politician. They need somebody who's going to do what they think is right, regardless.
Yeah, did you guys see that, by the way? I ended up, look, Mom, I made the Stasi report. I'm in the Durham report, dude. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And listen, I had friends tell me that the FBI was reading my Twitter messages. Me and Barnes both, Robert Barnes and I both. Robert Barnes ended up number 75 on that list. So that person was right, looking out for us. The Bashir turnout is solid. That's what I'm saying. It was lagging before, but it's solid now. But yeah, I mean, I'm in the freaking Durham report, dude. I mean, this is unbelievable. Let me just add real quick. Kraft ended up in northern Kentucky. Kraft's doing a little bit better, but it doesn't matter. Cameron's winning. So the fact of the matter is, urban, rural, and most of suburbia is going to Cameron. If Quarles loses Fayette, and we're going to see where Franklin comes in. If Franklin goes to Cameron, this race is over.
I mean, what do you anticipate the excuse? Like, so obviously they're going, you're going to say something. What are they, how are they going to defend this in terms of, well, you got our butts kicked? Because I think they're going to say, well, we didn't really care about that race anyway.
That's what they're going to try to say. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to try to say that they really didn't care about this race. At the end of the day, Trump was very popular in Kentucky. We know where we're going to have our weaknesses, yada, yada, yada. And I endorsed her not because it was politically expedient, but because it was the right thing to do. I mean, obviously tonight, unless something dramatically changes, Kelly Kraft, who spent a freaking fortune, is going to go down because the voters, MAGA, the heart of MAGA, and this is what people don't understand. Look at where beneath, let me just point this out. You see how Kelly Kraft is doing a little bit better in Leslie and Knox, right? And Ryan Quarles is where Cameron's doing actually better in Leslie, but Knox not doing well. We've seen that before. It's a smaller area, but that's something she has some claim to fame in. But Harlan, when we start to move up over here, Letcher, not right. Some of these, and Pike is going to be interesting to me. Some of these areas are like very, there used to be Democrats, and it's not just as deep red Republicanism. This is going to show Trump. And by the way, I should have pointed out because some of them are in Pulaski. There used to be a lot of Democrats there, David. And they're not anymore.
And that's because
they're Trumpers.
Well, and that's the funniest part about this whole narrative that, even the Biden White House obviously loves about these extreme MAGA Republicans. They want to label it that way because they know the platform actually isn't that extreme. It's actually much more
Cameron took
welcoming to other demographics and those areas that used to be. So Trump is actually.
Can I just stop you real quick
ahead,
and then hold your thought? I just want to tell you this. I do see the API in Cameron County. It's not that much of the vote out, but there's votes there. And by the way, Girard as well. Cameron took Girard, but Franklin, where Frankfurt is, another big vote get there, and I wanted to see what happened. Looking at it, Cameron took, it's very close between him and Quarles, but Cameron took it by about a point. So Kraft is in third. She's going to end up in third place tonight, dude. If this continues and she doesn't.
Well, and that's something you can't defend with the we didn't care, because I mean, if your candidate is going to come in third place, I mean, that somebody did put something.
A lot of votes there, man. A lot of votes.
There was a comment I saw that I did want to comment on quick, because somebody said that Bannon was reporting today that they are going to attack Trump on abortion.
Yeah,
that's the plan. Now, to me, it's just silly. I mean, how can you can't attack a guy in abortion who's responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade. Yeah, well, that's because he's saying, the six, and Oldham, by the way, is going to go to Cameron. It's going to go.
It's because he's made some comments.
That's next to Louisville, and Cameron took it with 61. He took it's 19%. They think it is, but it's a little over 1,200 votes. Cameron took 61% of it. This is going to come in. It's right here, Oldham, next to Louisville and Jefferson County. Shelby is another. This is why I said when I saw Shelby, I thought, oh, this is going to fill in for Cameron over here. But yeah, this is what their plan is, David. The problem, David, that they're going to have is that Trump has never been, you know, he says these things on abortion. He once made nice comments about Planned Parenthood in the beginning of the 2015 primary. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, he came in. Why is he saying that? Because he knows you cannot win the Rust Belt talking like that. That's why he's doing that. But
Well,
at
and
the
I
end of
think
the
he
day,
also
they
is
know
saying
where he came from.
I think you and I actually talked about this weekend. I think he's also saying it because he recognizes that the GOP's messaging on abortion is what's failing them.
Yeah.
And he would, if they're not going to focus on it and message it the correct way, he doesn't think it's an issue they should go for, because their messaging, their cut and run attitude just doesn't cut it. Let's put it at that. And honestly, quite frankly, I think a lot more people have bigger concerns right now. At least in terms of the Republican primary. I mean, Republican voters, I think, really care about what are you going to do about the government right now? I mean, you have an FBI that's basically running. They're probably tapping into this right now, so I might disappear soon. I'm probably going to be on one of their lists, but they're running basically a criminal organization over there. You have, Republicans are getting put on trial in states and getting convicted basically just because they're Republicans. And I think the base voters that are voting in your Republican primary, that's what they're mostly concerned about right now. They want to know, how are you going to protect me against the government when they come for me, when they come for my family, because I believe there's two genders, right? And if we're going to get into the other stuff, that's not what they care about right now. And they care about the economy. And honestly, Trump has the greatest argument. I tweeted this a while ago. You retweeted me. Trump has the greatest argument anyone could ever have. And it's just, remember what life was like, 3 years ago before COVID, when we had a booming economy, world peace. And how can you, DeSantis group is asking you to vote for what might be. Trump is telling you, we've already achieved it. I've achieved it. Stick with me, right? And what are you going to do? Somebody who might be able to get it done, or somebody who's already got it done?
I got to bring up Craig Bates here, who says, I considered Kraft, but after watching her in the debate, it was a hard pass. And you could see that in the Emerson poll, Craig. You were not alone. I think 78% said that the debate had a big impact and that they were waiting to decide.
Well, and that's not going to be good for Ron either, because I don't think his debate performance is not overwhelming either.
I mean, if I could find this article, not this article, if I could find this clip with him and Charlie Crist, who he wound up winning, but he wasn't good against the on the down low meth head either. And I don't mean to make fun of a drug addiction. I would never do that. But the fact is, Florida almost elected a guy who was in active addiction on meth because the nominee didn't do a very good job. And if it wasn't for Trump, that he would have lost that, because his debate skills are terrible.
And I know you just said something that obviously triggers
he's terrible
everyone.
At debating.
And he's not.
This is what happens. Let me play the clip. This is what he does during the debate. He did it in Japan.
Governor, old show you falling behind Trump. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
The bobblehead thing. That's what he does. And when Charlie Crist had him pinned, man, and he was like, I want you to tell the voters of Florida right now that you're not running for president, and you pledge that you will serve out your term as governor. And he was like, I'm running for governor right now. It was just like, oh God, this is cringe. But thank God he had all of those structural advantages and he was the governor. So, it worked out, worked out.
Nobody's really arguing that he hasn't done a positive job as governor. And it's right. That's not what we're saying here. We're not like criticizing his record. We're not saying he's not a fighter, but it's really hard to ask people to ignore, especially, Rich, I've lived it firsthand. Money in politics comes with strings attached. I know, because people didn't want to give me money because they didn't think I would let them attach the strings. So it's really hard to look at somebody taking in, $500 million here and another $100 million here from these people who we know their views on the world, and to think that is not going to play when he gets into the White House. And then you can also see that his messaging and strategy has clearly shifted to a much more traditional Republican thing. He's attacking Trump like the Lincoln Project right now.
Did you see, and I don't want to bash our friend Steve, but did you see, oh, wait a minute, major development, and this is what I was concerned about for Ryan Quarles. Cameron has, in fact, taken Fayette. Give me a second, folks. I just want to do some math. This might be over. And I know it's early, but just give me a second. Hold on. Let me do some math. It's because it's 10% in. This is really hard to consider this. All right, let's wait. Let's just. Where are we at here? 30.
I think Brooke seems like he wants to drop in a lot. He's like, I got a lot to say.
Yeah, let's just wait. Let's give it time because we are only talking about 10%. But there's a lot of votes outstanding in areas where Cameron just keeps picking up the steam as more votes come in. You know, the margin's not big in Fayette, but it's not like he's using it. Now he no longer has to worry about using the vote in Jefferson County to offset losing Fayette. And he's also taking Franklin, which let me see if any more came in. I don't know why Franklin hasn't updated, but Franklin is still Cameron, even though it's only 17% in. Harlan County is about to switch to. So is Letcher. So we're about to get another vote dump in Letcher, which Quarles had won, which surprised me a little bit because that's Trump area, but that's about to switch. Cameron's about to take Letcher, which is in the southeast. Okay. And actually looks like Decision Desk is just waiting to report the whole chunk. But I see pieces of it. The first piece, I can tell you right now, that came in, which was the first batch. Quarles had won it, and he won it by a hair, but Cameron took it now. So this appears to be getting uglier and uglier for Kelly Kraft. And Quarles' ability to hold on would require him to keep these kind of counties, right? We knew he'd be strong in some rural areas, but it requires him to hold, and he's not holding. So like, you know, Nicholas, he's going to hold that county. He's going to hold, and Robertson, he's going to hold barely though, but that's a very small amount of votes. I mean, he netted 5 votes in Robertson, and Nicholas, he's going to net about 31. So when we're talking about him losing Lexington, it's a big deal because now I'm looking at another dump in Lexington, and Cameron's going to edge out his vote lead just a little bit. This is getting difficult for anybody to touch Daniel Cameron at this point. Kraft Team DeSantis is headed for a major embarrassment. There's no other way around it, David. He's not going to take these Western counties. Kelly Kraft, is not going to take him. Maybe Quarles will, and that's why I'm waiting.
And I'm wondering if this is going to push them out of the endorsement market for a while because
this is a freaking embarrassment, dude. This is an embarrassment. All the money that they spent, to beat Cameron, and he's winning the suburban woman anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it once again reaffirms how disconnected the leaders at the GOP are with the base of their party. I mean, they just have no connection to the average Republican voter, and they're trying to shove candidates and positions down their voters' throats with money, and it's just not working. They're getting rejected. And you know, you can only do this so long before people just get fed up.
Kraft could, yeah. I mean, woo! You're telling me, and Bollock is telling me, Kraft has got to end up in the top 3, but maybe not. Because what the New York Times may be projecting is that Kraft does so bad in Western Kentucky that she falls below, like Dieters, who was picking up some steam at the end. Eric Dieters was getting some rallied support around men, you know, we're doing it. I don't know why our map is not showing Franklin yet, but I can tell you that I do know that Cameron is ahead of Quarles in Franklin by 4 votes with about 17% reporting. And it doesn't get better as time goes on, you know.
Maybe the endorsements will go better when Ron officially announces.
Jesus, David.
Sorry,
Let me refresh this. Let me refresh this to see.
That one just popped in my head, so I had to throw it out.
You couldn't help
because,
yourself, huh?
no,
All right,
because I
looks like
mean,
Woodford is going to go for Quarles, but with 44.8% in, it may not hold, and that's what we're seeing. Quarles grabs some of these counties, but then he loses it. He's going to hold. Where is it? Hold on, let me look.
oh, I wish
Hold
I
on,
could.
hold on. He's going to hold. Quarles will hold Nicholas and Robertson. It looks like, which are two tiny little counties. Robertson's here. Bracken's up north. So he'll hold. So there it is. Ryan Quarles. So they did update it. It's just I had to refresh the page. He'll hold these. Those are some of the areas. I'm not sure he'll hold Woodford because of Cameron's ability in this area of Kentucky to really rally back. Look at Anderson. I mean, Anderson looked like Quarles was going to do better in Anderson, but I don't know that it's possible. I would be if Kraft falls in the fourth place. I mean, I'll be freaking stunned. Alan Keck just netted a bunch of votes. I'm not sure where it came from, but I'll look. Pulaski went to Cameron, and it's done. Wow. And that's where it came from. Pulaski chunking in all the way. That's what happened here. Wow, guys. This is a Hardin. Quarles putting up a good fight. I'm obviously kidding.
Well,
and I don't mean to be joking at him. I'm not joking at Quarles. What I'm saying is this is like,
hey, he might beat a candidate that was endorsed by the presidential hopeful. So I mean, if he does that, it's pretty impressive.
Oh my God. I just can't believe how badly all that money. I just can't believe you got to Santos Rex. Just got to put a GIF in the locals chat just with Trump just laughing.
Well,
I burst in Lexington. Quarles is one. Oh my God, it's too much. It's getting harder and harder for him to catch up. And if I'm agreeing correctly, Jefferson still has a lot of vote out. I mean, he netted 1,300, over 1,300 votes in the first 12% dump in Jefferson. Now, it's possible some precincts will go a little bit better for other candidates, but that and losing Fayette, which I'm trying to get because he's got Woodford, and I'm trying to get a beat on whether or not he can hold that. But
I'm trying to see if I can see any people on Twitter making excuses.
They'll ignore it. That's what they're going to do, David. They're going to ignore it. Let's just go ahead and Andy Beshear has won the Kentucky Democratic primary for governor. That's official. I don't know why it took that long. I wasn't really. I mean, I don't think anybody was.
Here's one. Here's a December that I influencer. Sorry, I don't want to use that term.
Yeah, I try not to mock them.
I don't want to mock them because they're mocking me. But so here's his quote. So he's a huge. Obviously, he's turned against Trump. It's he wrote, as expected, Daniel Cameron is going to win the GOP nomination for governor of Kentucky. I've always thought Cameron was the strongest candidate to go up against Beshear. So if it was so expected, why did they spend all this money to try and take him out?
Okay. Yeah, right.
So they're already playing the thing like, well, we just took a shot on somebody who probably wasn't going to win, even though we knew the other one was going to win because, like you said, it was the right thing to do. I mean, that's where they're headed. So the excuses are rolling in. And obviously it has Ron should have been able to pull somebody through.
I just want to say there's a disparity with Knox. It appears to me that Kraft is being allocated Cameron's votes. I'm just telling you. Maybe I'm going to email them and I will tell them. But I'm looking at the API and
because he's not even on there.
He's not on here. It looks like Kelly Kraft is being allocated Cameron's votes. I don't know if that's reflective in the Kraft is in second place, but Quarles is indeed in third. So I don't know if something's wrong here, or maybe the back end over here is what's it called? Maybe the back end is wrong, but we shall see.
Okay.
Somebody
But
just
that
wrote
would
this-
leave Kraft only Leslie County, and it's quite possible she's going to lose it anyway. But as these things are filling in, Quarles is going to hold so far from what I'm looking at, my little crystal ball. He's holding like 3 of the counties, and the rest are gonna tumble.
Eric
What
just
am I
wrote, this reminds me of Mike Pence endorsing losers.
Kraft is going to take, at least in the first chunk, Taylor will go to Kraft by a little, and so will Wayne, but it won't be a big. Well, no, Taylor's going to be 80% in, and Cameron's going to be trailing her there. So, that's why people wait for votes to come in. It's just that this is a big. There's a lot of votes outstanding that are going to be Cameron votes, and you would need to dominate in Western Kentucky to even have a prayer. And the fact that we have 2 candidates who are going to split some of these, at least, actually got more than that. I mean, we have a lot more than 2 candidates. It's going to be hard to catch him when you have this much of a split, but we'll see. We'll see. We shall see. It depends how turnout was out there too, David. I mean, we don't know. Let me refresh it and see if they fixed. They did. Did you see that? They actually did fix Knox. Did you see that? So Knox went to Cameron with 95% in. That was a little bit weird. I don't know what was happening there. I could see it with the actual raw. I don't know what on earth was going on there, but it's fixed now. Okay. I don't know what the hell that was about. I hate seeing that kind of stuff, man. It's like, I get all, you know what I mean, guys? I get all like, I get a little screwy. I don't like seeing stuff like that. There's always mistakes, though, guys. There are always mistakes. And I think it will be closer because I think that there is a way to tighten this race if he doesn't hold his dominance. If he does, then this is it. I mean, forget it. It's just that I have to explain to you how many votes are in the counties where
one of them just popped green. One of them just popped green.
That's actually going to change back, though. It will.
Well, I just meant, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
It popped in. It filled in. It wasn't filled in. It wasn't even in before.
Scott, Scott is going to go. This is where you would expect Quarles to do better. It is. He held Robertson. He held Nicholas. So we'll see if he does carry some of these counties. And there's just, comparatively, David, we're talking about less than, we're talking about 70 votes, 71 votes. There are just so many votes out left in Jefferson. There's so many votes out left in Fayette, and he's gaining in Fayette. He's actually doing better in these precincts that are reporting. So, it's possible he doesn't even. I don't know. I mean, he could lose Woodford, but Quarles will probably hold Woodford. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's possible. We'll see. Shelby is a good indication because it's like then it's a good indication for Cameron because then like these other counties will start filling in. I do think Kraft will do better in and around these areas, but we'll see. And then beyond the wall, I don't know, buddy. And the Kraken, I don't know. There we go. We just got Hardin back. What the hell happened to Hardin before? Did it go? No, there it is. Okay. Some more in Hardin. Is that more report? Yeah, just a little bit more. And Cameron's going to be at like 66. Yep. Okay. So that's not really much of a status quo changer at all, Looking at Rowan, Cameron in. Do we still have about 20% in Rowan? Nope. Rowan's done now. I can't stand that it goes over the thing like that. It's because I did this. I hit these candidate things and I messed it up. Johnson, Rowan is done. Okay. But he is also taking the North, which is, it's like, where will that end? In Kenton, it's a big lead. He doesn't need to have these 60% leads. If he holds these around, in the North and holds his own out West and wins these larger areas, the Emerson poll is going to come out looking like a peach. Hey, Robin, thank you for joining us. Hello, Grace. Thank you for joining us. The GOP donor class dead name spent a lot of money for 17% of the vote tonight. I mean, she is, like I said, I can see it is, I think it's Taylor. Kraft is going to carry Taylor. Cameron will come in second. And she'll carry at 46-32. That'll be so far one of her best counties. She's going to be slightly ahead in Wayne with Quarles right, up her butt, but I don't know if she's going to hold it. Same thing with Leslie because it is so close. So close as in the vote share makes it look bigger than it is. We'll see. It could change quite a bit. But Cameron is now holding, 10,000 vote lead. There's a big chunk from Jefferson. Look at that. That just turned his 1,300 net into about 3,300 net. That's a big chunk, guys. It's hard when there's that much vote out. When you just look at counties like this, they're netting a handful of votes. There's a lot of votes here. A lot of votes. And what's he at? He's at 60 now in Jefferson. 60. That's an increase. He's doing better in Jefferson. And now he's doing, we're going to see if he's doing better in Jefferson and Shelby, he'll probably pick it up. And Fayette, he did pick it up. If you remember, the early vote actually went to Ryan Quarles. Hardin is going to go to 66. I can tell you right now. I can see it. Isn't it? Hi, Brooksy. What's the matter, little Brooksy?
Oh, did Bill Mitchell block me? Oh, he must.
Oh, he's a blocker. Don't be surprised if he blocks. Clay
County,
County,
he didn't block me. Here he is.
County's
I just want to see. I was going to check out and see if
Clay County's about to go to Cameron, guys. I'm telling you. Did he block you? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Cameron's first. It's going to chunk in quite a lot because it's not a big county. Cameron's going to take 53.3%. So we're now over a fifth of the vote, just a little over a fifth of the vote in. And you have Daniel Cameron with a 10,300 vote lead, roughly 22 points, 22.2 points. I'm getting real close.
Bill
I
Mitchell.
just want to see the West fill out. I'm getting close.
I'm scrolling through Bill Mitchell's thing, and he's posting Trump's former staff. They all hate him. What's that say about Trump? And he's using an article about how John Bolton doesn't like Trump. Like that's supposed to make people dislike Trump because John Bolton
never liked Donald Trump.
But it's
John
just
Bolton
like,
never
okay, so
liked
John
Donald
Bolton,
Trump.
I mean, we don't like John Bolton. I mean, this is the thing. They don't even get that, right? I mean, they don't even understand that most Republican voters can't stand John Bolton
And just
anymore.
to let everybody know, I responded to Bullock personally. The West, Bullock, I'm waiting for the West. It could be an extremely dominant performance if Cameron was to significantly underperform. However, I'm just not sure that's going to happen. We're now almost to 37% of the vote in, and that must mean, yeah, there it is. See, he gained significantly in Fayette, even though he's below his statewide average, which is why it didn't bump him that. It's over. Daniel Cameron is one. We can now call it. Hang tight. We got a call. Well, there you have it, guys. Ron DeSantis's mega donor candidate got crushed. Oh, my God. What the hell are these people doing? Ron, don't you want a future? Oh, God. Steve, what did you do, brother? Oh,
at this point, could he back out? Like, could he just say, I'm not running? Because, I mean, you're pot committed. So it's too late. You're
Can
asking
I just look into the camera and say something really serious? Politics is filled with historic firsts, but there has never been a candidate at or above 50%, even this early in the process, who has ever gone on to lose in the non-incumbent modern era. Never, never, never. You're going to get stomped, and you're going to destroy the future of a promising young governor because you want to make money. Because you want to make money, and because Trump expelled you from his world and your butt hurt. Build the vote operation. Save the money. And by the way, somebody had said it. This totally justifies and validates that Emerson and I are on the right side of this. Reuters, he's at 50. And Emerson and Rich, he's at 60. No, we're right and they're wrong. If you add Cameron and Quarles' vote, look at Kraft's vote share. That's DeSantis' vote share.
And unfortunately, they don't really care if they ruin Ron, because it was never about promoting Ron. It's always been about splitting MAGA so they can destroy it. That's always what this has been about. And I said this months ago, and I had some, tweet got some traction, and people were criticizing me saying, "Oh, that's not, Ron. They don't want to split MAGA. That's stupid." It's like, yes, they do. They lost listen, the Republican Party, the leaders of the Republican Party lost through a midterm election where they should have won 40 plus House seats, and they could have gotten a 7-seat majority in the Senate, but they didn't want that. They literally sacrificed that so they could use it to destroy Trump and his movement. These are the kind of people we're talking about. Do you think it's out of the realm of possibility that they would want to convince Ron to run because they want to get rid of both of them? I mean, they want to hurt both of them. Yeah.
George Soros, brother. George Soros said this is his ideal situation. His ideal situation.
And, you talk to some people, I'm not going to name specific names because I don't want to, say that. But these people that think that DeSantis is going to have an easier time in a general election, that they are going to let this guy win, they're delusional. They're delusional.
It's loser thinking. It's weak. Can I be real for a second? It's weak. It's yellow. It's tiny. You know what? It's soft jelly spine. You're afraid. Just admit it. You're afraid. And you want to try to find the easy road, the easy path, because you're scared. That right? Am I wrong? They're afraid, David.
Well, they're afraid because they have this way of thinking, and they think they know what Republicanism is and what it should be. And they're being confronted with the reality that your base, the people who vote in your electorate just don't believe that anymore. Eventually you have to either accept that, or the party's just not going to be able to survive if you can't, because voters are going to go where they feel which party relates to them the most. And quite frankly, I just don't see that old school conservatism, limited government, no spending on anything. I just don't think that relates to the average American anymore. I mean, they're cost of living is out of control and all these other things. They're just not going to buy that stuff anymore. They want to hear about how you're going to help their family, how you're going to keep their jobs, how you're going to make sure their kids get good educations, how you're going to make sure their kids are safe. That's what they care about. Balanced budgets are a great thing, but it's not going to win you votes. It doesn't move the needle with voters anymore.
Speaking of losers and needing to change the face of the party, I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but while we're on the topic of the power of the Trump endorsement, Donald Trump should endorse you for California's 13th congressional district before you announce the time. And then you should announce and run again in California, and you should clobber John Duarte, who voted against his border security bill, lying to the constituents. Do you remember the mailer?
No, I remember the mailer. There were 30. There were 30 of them that said he was a border hawk, that said he was the true conservative. I mean, we always knew that
30 mailers
wasn't true. They bought an election because Kevin wanted to make sure he was going to be speaker. And you have a guy in there. You have a district here in California, the 13th district. You know it. I know it. We strongly believe it. This is a district that could really exemplify the power of Trump's movement in America First, because voters wanted change here in this district. They have never elected a Republican. They took a chance on John Duarte because they were sold a bill of false goods, and they're pissed now. I've had people calling me, people that endorsed me last time that didn't endorse John in the general. So that says a lot right there. And I have people that were voted that said, I'm not voting for him again. He won by 400 votes.
I was just going to say, these consultants And these party leaders, they don't seem to be able to comprehend basic math. I had Mike Garcia attack me on Twitter for basic math that apparently he was too simple-minded to be able to refute. You won by 400 votes when the electorate was 50% turnout in a majority Hispanic area, and it was 70% white.
And I'm going to toot my own horn because these people say, well, you got 15% in the primary. Guess what? I beat 2 Democrats in 4 of the biggest the biggest Hispanic precincts. I won them. I won them, not the 2 Democrats. And one of the Democrats is Hispanic. So, and we won those precincts. And if you're going to look at a district, you cannot bring out. There's not going to be 50% turnout in the next year. I believe after that vote,
oh my God,
John
David,
cannot win this seat. If you want to save the seat, you gotta change course. I'd love it if the president would endorse me. I think we have to do it for this country because I think Trump needs allies, and I think we need fighters in Congress. And I think people are fed up. You know what the first thing I thought when I saw some of the quotes from the Durham report is like, so what now? Like, this is it? That's all we get? Like, where's the actual accountability?
Did you see their reaction? We need some resignation.
Yeah.
We need some reforms. What are you going to
reform? So what are they going to do? They're going to go ask Merrick Garland to reform the FBI? He's going to laugh in their face. Merrick Garland. I mean, what more?
They reinstated Andy's benefits.
You're asking an organization that is corrupt to police itself, and Durham basically says this organization is not capable of that. Now, yes. I quite frankly, I don't like. I mean, Durham also kind of basically said, well, I can't convict these people because nobody in DC courts is going to this is truly scary times, right?
Then he writes that report and says
that he has to say that. It's just, we're in desperate times. We need fighters in Congress. You could say whatever you want about, people like Gates and people like Lauren Boebert, but those people speak up and they're trying to get things done, but they are being held back by that they are in a small group. And we need more. I'd love to be one of those people. I think this seat could go, because when John loses this seat, because he's going to lose it. Let me put it this way. When John loses this seat next cycle, this will never be held by a Republican again. Adam Gray or Phil Urbio will be the congressman for the next 8 years until they redistrict. And after that, they'll probably try to gerrymander it because California won't be able to lie on the census again. We'll probably lose at least 2 more seats. You're going to have less room for Republicans. This is your last chance. And you just stabbed voters in the back on one of the biggest issues. I mean, crime is rampant in the Central Valley. Rich, actually, I need to send you a graph about, did you see the report that 71% of the illegal immigrants in the U.S. end up in Republican districts?
I didn't see it, but I'm not at all surprised. Barack Obama, back in, he did it for 8 years. He would purposely, they had it was a strategy to move these illegals into the interior in red states. They did it not only because the Trump administration would later find this out. They didn't know until they got in. But they would later do that as well with things like the visa lottery and other programs. They would basically put them into red areas. There's no way, when you're like a numbers guy like me, there's no way you look at where they were sticking these people and you would even entertain the concept or the notion that this was an accident.
Everything's an accident, right? It's always an accident. Well, and I do want to say one last thing because I left it out, but it's important. His reasoning for voting against that bill is reprehensible. I mean, because he's a rich farmer.
Bring it up.
Because he is a rich farmer. He is a rich farmer who owns a large nursery. He basically insisted that, well, I can't vote against this because it hurts financially me and my farming buddies. Like, these are people, man. These people are desperate for a better life. They're coming to the United States. They're not cattle. They're not to be exploited by rich farmers to go work on your farms and make you millions of dollars.
Hold on. Lord,
it represents the very worst of the Republican Party. Like, you have a guy now who's going to go ask Mexicans to vote for him when he basically said, I need more of them to come over the border so I can use them like slaves, abuse them. I mean, that's what you're now trying to put.
They'll vote for me because they work for me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. How on earth could you?
And they didn't vote for you. That's the thing. None of them showed up in the general. They did not vote for the Democrats. 50% turnout. So they didn't vote. They just stayed home. They said,
They
we're
did
pissed at the
not vote.
Democrats. We're pissed at Gavin Newsom, but we're looking at what your Republicans are offering us, and we're just not going to vote. So you had a chance to finally get these people to vote for you for the first time, and you couldn't do it. So you're not going to do it next time around, especially after this vote. Because, Rich, you study this all the time. What's the first thing you told me? Who are some of the most ardent supporters of closing the border and legal? Who are they? Mexican Americans. Yeah.
Yep. And especially in that area. Laura just got in, so I want to keep Laura privy on what happened. Ron DeSantis' candidate is currently at 17% of the vote. The race is over. It was over immediately. Daniel Cameron, the Trump endorsed candidate, is leading in most rurals. I mean, he's picking up Western Kentucky now. He's leading in the suburbs of Louisville. He's leading in the suburbs of Franklin County, Lexington. He won Jefferson County because of his performance in the Louisville suburbs with like 60%. He's killing it. So this is, and by the way, the northern tip of Kentucky, which has like your typical, how do you put it, David? Like the Republican Southern vest Republican, and he's winning that. There will be a few green spots on the map, maybe one or two purples. She's about to lose that county too. You've noticed every election day that comes in, Cameron takes it over. Yeah.
Well, and somebody just wrote, that Cesar Chavez hated, and that's right. Cesar Chavez did hate open borders. He used to send people to the border to block him from coming in. And this is another thing that's frustrating about Republicans and my race and what Duarte did voting against the bill is you have the current Speaker of the House out there criticizing the Biden administration over open borders, which is good. He should criticize them, but then he's giving $250K to a guy who just voted for open borders because he wants slave labor, basically. And this is what people are frustrated with the Republicans, because it makes it look like you're not serious about actually solving the problem. And we have to get serious about solving it. This isn't about winning elections. I didn't get into politics because I wanted to talk about issues so I could win elections. I got into politics because I wanted to solve the issues so voters would, and that's the ironic thing. If you actually solve the issues, voters will reward you for a far longer time.
Yeah.
Because they'll remember
the thing, though, David, as well as I know that so many of them are not interested whatsoever in solving issues. They want some of these issues, like in your area, the water issue.
Paul Ryan, which is Ron's best friend, and Kevin's best friend. By the way,
tell them what he said.
So people, Brooksy's getting his little head on here. So for those who don't know, this used to be the old 16th congressional district. Johnny Teixeira ran a race back against Jim Costa, who's been in Congress since the dinosaurs were around. Considered invincible. This was but 2012. Johnny got no money from the Republican Party because they didn't think the seat was winnable. He worked his butt off. He won. He went to DC. And Paul Ryan took him aside. He was about to get sworn in. He actually got sworn in. Paul Ryan said, "Listen, we like what you do talking about the water, but we don't actually want to solve that issue. We need it for campaigning. So we're not really going to pass anything or do anything to get it done." And so Johnny basically told him, "Hey, that's not what I came here for. I came here to get it done." And, within a few days, they went and they found all these provisional ballots, and Jim Costa won. So this is the kind of stuff that goes on. It's sad. It's unfortunate. And it's why so many people have lost faith in the government. We need people that are motivated by more than just self-gain and bigger things after. We got to get things done, or we're not going to have a country much longer. So, this is the kind of thing we're dealing with. I think this is a big election coming up, and this race right here, it really does show you Trump has not lost steam. There's not much more they can throw at the guy. I think if they put him in jail at this point, if they put him in jail, he's going to be even more popular. They've indicted him. Everyone's heard that every slanderous thing counts. So I don't know what Team DeSantis really thinks is going to happen to him that could give them the opening they need, because at this point, what else can you throw at the guy? His numbers go up, not down. So
in the Jackson mayoral race, I just got an update for people. I put it up before, but Donna Deegan, the Democrat, won the early vote with absentee ballots in person and absentee early. She won at 57-43. I'm rounding. Now that 62% of the vote is in, Daniel Davis, the Republican, has been able to close that gap. It's now 52.6 to 47.4. So right about the margin that Biden beat Trump by in Jacksonville. This is another thing. They routinely give this guy credit for turning Florida red. And I've been over the demographics on this a million times.
But they don't give credit to Trump for turning Ohio red. That's the funny thing.
But Trump turned Florida red.
But but I'm saying they give DeSantis credit for turning Florida red, but they don't think Trump turned Iowa and Ohio red. I mean, so what is it, guys?
Yeah, what's it going to be? With that much of the early vote being, if there really is about a third election day vote or more, it was more than a third. It could be the election day vote was 40% in Jacksonville, and then Davis has a chance. If they're really estimating that correctly, Davis does have a chance. He's only less than 11,000 votes, about 11,400 votes behind right now. But the margin is going to be heavily favoring Republicans. Democrats have really put their best foot forward here. So interesting enough to see whether or not he can close a 14-point gap with election day votes. And already he's closed it. Well, he's gone up from 43.1 to 47.4. And she has fallen, Donna Deegan has fallen 56.95. So basically 57 even. Now she's down to 52.6. That margin's closing fast, brother. He may have a shot at this. He's got to close it, He's got to close it and close it quick. I'm looking at it. I don't know why I didn't get the damn thing, the embeds up for this. I apologize for not doing that, but we don't have anything in from Pennsylvania yet, which are some interesting races out there, including the people I had on the Bucks races in Central Valley. We're going to find out whether or not it pays to use transgender students who have a mental disorder as a political prop. And then, it's like Jussie Smollett meets the Russia collusion hoax, and they're just going to run political games like that forever, David. But you know what?
I mean, Adam Schiff
we can talk about reforming, and we can talk about resignations, and maybe that'll fix it, brother. No
one is going to resign.
17%.
No one is going to resign. They laugh in your face. Merrick Garland, Chris Wray are called into Congress every week. They tell a bunch of lies. They leave. We find out they lied, and nothing happens to them. Rinse and repeat. Okay.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Either you use your tools, which the Republicans have, the most powerful tool in our government, the power to fund the government.
Yeah.
And you either use it or you're not going to get the things you want. And that's another thing. Like I said, if they really wanted their Parents' Bill of Rights and the IRS agents, that should have been included in all this stuff. If they really wanted border security, why isn't that part of the debt ceiling negotiations? Because I believe Kevin promised he would put that in there, but he didn't. So do they really want these things? I don't think they do. And we need people that actually want these things, and we need leaders that are going to fight for these things. You have to, because Rich, let me ask you this: would the Democrats close down the government if it meant getting what they wanted? Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, because they know the Republicans would cave
to a halt. Everything there's nothing that they are unwilling to do to get what they want.
And they know that the other side isn't willing to behave in that way. And that's the thing. I don't agree with the Democrats' methods, but if we don't start matching them, they're going to get worse and worse. And that's what's happening. You're seeing it spiral out of control. The things we're finding out are so egregious. It's hard to believe we live in the United States anymore. It really is. It really is. You're asking people with no
dropping, just to give you guys an idea. She's not only in third; she's in third.
Yeah, she's got 16.9 now. She's really
unbelievable. Daniel Cameron was so overspent,
So Rich, if you're
DeSantis endorsed. I mean, that's it. I said nothing less than total embarrassment.
You're gonna get in trouble there, Rich.
Hey, I'm sorry. In third and dropping. Daniel Cameron, Trump endorsed Daniel Cameron, cruised in this one. This is cruised.
Now, if you're internally in DeSantis's camp, what are you thinking right now? Or if you're somebody who
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Let me tell you what they're thinking. Forget about what I'm thinking right now.
Okay,
Let me tell you what they're thinking.
What do you think?
They're thinking, hey guys, huddle up. holy shit, we have to figure out how to not get him to back out of this, or else we're going to lose all that money. All right, so let's huddle up and let's give him the spiel about how much time there is and how we can turn this thing around. And don't worry, he'll get indicted by Georgia. Don't worry, Merrick Garland indict him for January 6th. We gotta just reinforce our talking points on him because we can't have our cash cow back out of this race right now. That's what they're saying. That's what they're thinking and saying. And that's the saddest part about all of this.
No, that really, yeah. I mean, that you're right, because a lot of people are a lot of people are getting a good payday out of his run, and you want that to go on as long as possible. And as long as the big donors are going to write the checks, hey, let's keep him going. Now let me ask you, if you're a big donor, what are you thinking? Are you like, if you're a guy, a big donor, maybe not, if you're Ken Griffin, what are you thinking when you see this? Does he care? Does he think
listen, these guys will move on to somebody else if they feel like somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are they going to look at, well, maybe Ron isn't the one I should make?
He's been telling the Financial Times that. So is Peter Fye. He's been telling Politico that. He told NBC that. Oh, don't use my name. He's so full of crap. It's totally Griffin. It's him. And it's all these other, at least the and I don't want to, the your lines add the courtesy and the character to just flatly go on the record with NBC and say, yeah, I was at that meeting. We were both at that meeting. We told him you're not getting any more money until the polls turn around. And then they bombard the field with these bogus polls from Public Opinion Strategies.
Yeah,
they bombard the field
strategies.
with them. Obviously, Emerson and I may be, when you look at this, Emerson and I may be too bullish on the traditionalist wing of the party here. We may be too bullish. We may be over polling their lane. I'm serious. Look at this right now. If you add Cameron and Quarles, because listen, you can say what you want about Quarles, but he's no Rhino. He's no Rhino. Ryan he went with a respectable strategy, which was, I've got a record in the state. It's for the governor here. I'm going for the local endorsements where they have power in a race like this, and I'm going to try to just use my local brand. I'm not going to go the national route. It's just that once Cameron got that Trump endorsement, it was difficult. So what lane did he try to pull? He didn't go into the mega donor lane and beg DeSantis for his endorsement. He ran a respectable, decent, at least he can look himself in the mirror tonight. I don't know how you're Kelly Kraft, the former UN ambassador, mega donor, spent a ton of your money. And I know what Bannon will say. Bannon will say, Rich, don't feel bad for her. She can write this check and never make a blip on her lifestyle. So, and I don't feel bad for her. What I'm saying is, though, this is nothing but a total and complete embarrassment. If you add Daniel and Ryan's support, that's Trump's support.
MX Caliber, right. Why would MX Caliber, why would Ron attach himself to this race last second? So why, they
told him he would have an impact. They all believed. I can answer this too. Everyone thought that Kraft was closing the gap and closing it fast. You think I'm kidding?
They must have been looking at POS polls.
Preview tonight. I love you guys at Decision Desk. I love you guys. But your preview was laughable today. It was laughable. Oh, this is going to be a tighter race. Kraft surging. If you read what Spencer was saying, Kraft was not surging. She was absolutely cratering. And there were just people who didn't know where else to go if they weren't going to go to Cameron. So they obviously went to Quarles. And looks like Dieters is going to pull out fourth. It looks like Dieters is going to pull fourth out, man. And let's look at some of the margins in Western Kentucky. And let's see if it literally is viable for Dieters to get a new that's why. He's underperforming in so many of these other areas. He's not really running behind Kraft like that, so Kraft will hold third, but man.
But third at 17% is, you can't, if you're a surgeon, you should be pulling second, right? If you're, right. The endorsement should have pulled you into at least second. If it couldn't even pull you into at least second, what does that say?
Well,
now, maybe the excuse is, oh, maybe nobody knew about it.
Oh no, bull. You know what? Bull. Go look at the coverage. The Courier Journal, the Lexington, whatever it's called, the Gazette, whatever it is over there. Everybody wanted, they were teething, they were seething, they were foaming at the mouth, man, like Pavlov's dog, getting ready to jump all over this. They were hoping Kraft would at least come within a few points and make this uncomfortable. And then they could say, look at the power of the DeSantis endorsement. That's what they were going to do. So they can be on there right now, all they want, pretending like this isn't some kind of a proxy fight. It is. And by the way, Quarles is going to lose McLean. You see it in Western Kentucky? It's going to go to Cameron. Quarles is up by 8 votes right now, but it's only like 10% or 12% in. What are we estimating it at? 5. Never mind. So I'm going to go ahead and say, with what I'm seeing in the neighboring areas, that Cameron is going to take that lead. There are some that he'll hold, but I think that he's in danger of losing it in Woodford because of what we saw. He'll probably hold it in Scott. That looks more like Nicholas and Robertson. But look, Cameron is just filling in 55% in Marshall County.
Well, and Rich, I just thought of something you talked to me about. This
Laura's
just
singing in the other room.
Well, this just exemplifies some of the things, what they're doing to the party here, because now they're committed obviously to having this long drawn out primary, but we should be focusing on what you've been saying the whole time, building the ground operation to win, because now you're forcing Trump, who, listen, statistically, like you said, 50+%. I mean, that's statistically significant, but now you're forcing him to waste time and money to run through a primary when we could be building an apparatus around the country, not just to help Trump win, to help other Republicans win, to help win Senate races, to help win House races. Instead, we're not going to get that because they're going to be preoccupied with this game going on. And it's a detriment to the entire party. You can back on Trump all you want, but listen, if anybody who thinks the NRC, sorry, well, I always got them on my mind, anyone who thinks the RNC is just going to wake up a week before the election day in 2024 and start harvesting a million ballots is out of their mind, is delusional. That's not how you get it done. The Democrats have decades of an advantage with their ground operations. We already don't have enough time to develop them. And we're wasting valuable time here.
The Trump endorsement sent Cameron to 50%, and he may end up. He's probably. Let me look at some of these margins. 60 in Jefferson, with still so much vote out.
Brooks says his endorsement probably would have gotten Kraft over the 40. He's like, if I came up and he's like, if I gave that last minute endorsement, she probably would have been bumped up there. But I like real fighters, and he's like, I'm a Donald guy. He's a Donald type guy, He's like, my cat's named Trumpy, so I got to stick with that.
Trump endorsement most definitely sent Cameron, who was the favorite, to 50. It's going to happen.
Not sank, you mean broke him to 50.
How's my home slice?
Hey, say what's up, everybody.
No, how's my Brooksy?
Laura, he's doing good. He had a pretty aggressive, poo before Rich tried to bring me on. So that was,
I told you as soon as he got home and settled what was going to happen.
I know he's been pretty good. He's been a little, a little feisty, but that's because my AC doesn't work in the store. So he's probably like, Dad, why is it a sweatshop in here? It's 150 degrees, but we're gonna make sure my landlord fixes this AC one way or another. I'm not gonna play nice anymore.
I think Brooks needs a picket sign.
Yeah, Brooks. Yeah, I know. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got to catch up on inventory here. He was a little flustered when he walked in because a lot of things have changed. So he's like, uh-oh. But yeah.
It's only because he misses.
Rich going down even more, 16.8.
I told you she's fallen. She'll come in third and falling.
Let's put it this way, Rich. What if is she is she not even going to win a county? Not even win a county?
Maybe one. She could possibly, let me look and just, oh no, she lost it. Never mind.
Yeah, so she
to
not even win a county.
Taylor. She's going to hold Taylor, I think. Taylor hasn't come in on my map for some reason, but she's going to hold Taylor.
Oh, okay.
All right, but let's see. Will she hold Wayne? Probably not. She probably will not hold Wayne County. So right now, all I can say for sure is Taylor, which is a tiny county. I believe that may be her home county in central Kentucky. I think that may be. Hold on,
Let me look. I had her up here.
Kelly Kraft. Let me look. She may be from Taylor County. I kid you not. Let me see. No, she grew up. She was born in Lexington. She got clobbered in her own. Well,
Hey, well,
Glasgow.
hey, look, so
Glasgow is
she
in
does.
what
So
county?
she does have something in common.
Barron.
She has a lot in common with Ron then, because she got clobbered in her own county, and Trump's clobbering Ron right now in Florida. So I
She
don't
was
want to
born
be.
in Lexington, and she grew up in Glasgow, which is in Barron County. So, yeah, that's that. Barron, where are you? It's not in yet. But you know what? So close to her home county. Maybe she takes a couple counties in there in that area where it's her home county, David, but I don't know.
Laura, Brooks misses you. He's like, listen.
Brooksy, I
He
miss
said,
you too,
he said,
smiling
I thought I was staying there for a little bit.
Oh, we would have loved him, man.
Yeah.
Brooksy is all smiles, folks. Brooksy is
Yeah.
all smiles. Hey,
Um,
Laura, come here, honey.
Rich, what do you thanks, I'm a blast. He's laughing at me. No, but I'm saying, looks, I mean, it's just gonna be interesting to see the shifts, because as I was reading through Bill Mitchell's thing, he's now hates polls again, because they're very quick to push those POS polls, what is it?
Well, what is it showing? It's showing because people who are projecting the race closer to Emerson and I, this is why Kentucky's big tonight, because it proves that people who are more close or to like Emerson College, myself, IBD Tip now is even getting on that train. We are obviously reflecting the true state of the race. And by the way, did you see the absolute blowout in the Suffolk poll? Did you see the blowout today? Holy crap.
I mean, I'm still the only poll that the poll that really bothers me the most was the one you and I talked about from a few weeks ago, because I have watched DeSantis supporters talk about this state in particular as a reason why Ron needs to be the nominee, and that is going to be Pennsylvania.
They're going to try a California too, baby.
No, but DeSantis down 9 to Joe Biden in Pennsylvania, and that is all you hear from DeSantis. He is the only one. Ron is the only one who can win Pennsylvania. Well, actually, Trump's the only Republican who's won Pennsylvania.
I don't know where they get this shit from, David. Pardon my French. I don't know where they come up with these fabrications. There is nothing to support that. There has been one man who has won those states since Ronald Reagan. Wisconsin still bucked those two others for the caucus against Herbert Walker Bush.
I know,
He's the only one who's done it. They don't understand what they're talking. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not easy. You can't win them with this kind of message. You can't do it.
No, I mean, if it were the case, Romney should have won him in 2012, and he got his butt kicked. I remember I told this story on your air before. I was in college when Obama won the first term in 2008, and I think it was the week before Election Day. There was all these articles coming out that McCain was going to win Pennsylvania. They were really putting a push into winning Pennsylvania. They thought they had a chance there.
Yeah,
so they actually came to the University of Scranton, where I went to school, and they did a McCain rally like a few days before the election. He lost by 9. I think it was either 9 or 10 points. He lost the state by 9 or 10. 9 points.
Yeah.
So they just don't get these voters. They don't understand what drives them. They don't understand these people, and you have a lot of.
They could win Minnesota too.
And it's the same way in CA 13, Rich, as you know. There are just so many people they're not Republicans. They are Trumplicans, and they're going to vote for Trump. They're going to vote for Trump's candidate. That's why you said, hey, if Trump endorsed me, this race would be over. We would win automatically, because people love him. I knocked on the doors, and Hispanics a lot. They love him. They love Trump. And they love because he talks like not your typical Republican, and he does policies that your typical Republican wouldn't touch, and he's not afraid to get down in the trenches and fight.
Donald Deegan has defeated Daniel Davis, and the margin, David, will be the exact margin that Biden carried it against Trump. So I thought, wait a minute, David. I thought that in the post-Trump era, Florida was
Yeah.
R plus 20 without Trump.
Well, I thought, yeah, I mean, because I thought all the Hispanics and everybody in Florida were DeSantis Republicans, not Trump Republicans.
Weird, bro.
You
That's
know,
really weird, right?
and yeah, I mean, listen, you can. It's just funny because you have all the data. It's been there forever, and they
It's
just don't
right
want
in
to
front of your
believe it.
face.
And they just don't want to
right there.
believe it. They think it's lying to them, or they're just too. And you know what, Rich? The saddest part, it's not that they don't believe it. They just want to keep the gravy train rolling. As long as consultants are getting paid, I know that firsthand being in California. The biggest thing is as long as consultants are getting paid and making money every cycle, that's kind of what all really matters. And that's unfortunate.
No, I think you nailed it. And I think, by the way, the fact is, I was actually hoping to see a little bit better performance for Republicans in Jacksonville at this point. And Hector said, how many delegates would Trump get in Iowa at this point? I think Trump's probably up in Iowa by 30 points. I mean, I think you're looking at almost a total. You have to understand, you got to reach a certain amount. Ron DeSantis, folks, just so you understand what happens when someone's at like 15 to 17%.
Yeah,
They're now in danger of not even qualifying to win any delegates in a primary.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Like, oh, he's in second and he's going to take some delegates. Not in some of these states. They're state delegate equivalents. Democrats have. Republicans do things a little bit different. But if you don't meet a certain threshold, you don't get jack nothing.
Yeah.
In South Carolina, his lead is so big right now, he will take every single delegate, every single one.
They're banking on California, Rich. You know what you and I both know they're banking on they're banking on
people what's going on.
So
they don't know what we're talking about, and it's true. It's
so California, despite being a deep blue state, still has the vast majority of registered Republicans in the country, just because the population of the state is huge. They've moved up the California primary. So the last primary, it was June. So the primary this year is now earlier. It's on Super Tuesday, which is very early this year. And it has a large amount of delegates. And Team DeSantis is planning to make a stand in California to basically negate the Trump is an inevitable argument. Because if Trump rips off and wins Iowa, New Hampshire, and he starts with his delegate lead, he wins those, he's the front runner. But if they basically believe that Ron could win California and equal or come close to Trump in delegates by winning one state. And then they're going to be able to go to the media with all of their money and go on CNN. Like I've seen a lot of DeSantis, they're making a lot of appearances on CNN and MSNBC now, pimping Ron. They're going to go on those networks and they are going to start saying, look, Trump is no longer the inevitable candidate. We are now tied in the delegate count, and California, I believe, is winner take all. I believe it is. But it's the most delegates. It's actually the most delegate rich state, and they're planning an assault. They're going to come out with congressional endorsements. They're basically going to rally every Republican elected lawmaker in this state to come out and support Ron to try and get this win. And that is the plan. And they're really hoping they can flip the narrative, even if it's not true, right? Even if it's an isolated win, they can still use the media and their money to flip the narrative into Trump is not inevitable. He's not.
And so right now, I'm going to read something for people when you're done. Okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. But that is the plan that's being put forward. It's been going along for a while.
So in the LA Times 5 days ago, because it is a little bit different. It used to be winner take all, but it's a little different. But listen. GOP voters in liberal bastions could have outsized role in California's presidential primary. And I know that what people think, but the truth is Trump is actually doing better in the last poll, and we're going to show you some of California soon. He's actually doing better than he was like a month ago, but he does think about how he did in 2020 in some of these liberal areas. It was really incredible to see. But as a Republican in San Francisco, Jay Donde describes his experience in the liberal bastion as frustrating. But that may soon change due to a quirk in how the state Republican Party awards delegates in presidential primaries. Donde and other GOP voters in liberal spots like the Bay Area and Los Angeles could have a greater voice in picking their party's presidential nominee in 2024 than their counterparts in the most conservative corners of the state, such as the Central Valley, where David is. And they call
Exactly.
they call you now the most conservative parts of the state. And they didn't know the Central Valley would vote Republican until we
I know, until we
did
spent
that
a
work.
year and a half
You
telling
and
them,
I, right?
shoving it down their throats before
They
they stole it,
couldn't.
before they
They
stole it all from us.
They
You
couldn't
know,
find their ass in a paper bag. That's because a GOP presidential candidate is awarded 3 delegates for every California congressional district that they win. It doesn't matter if it's the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco-based district, home to 29,150 registered Republicans, including Dondi, or current House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's district centered in Bakersfield, where 205,738 GOP voters live. It's exciting, Dondi said, 39, an attorney and co-founder of the San Francisco Brion Society, an organization of centrist Republicans, moderates, and independents. So what he's doing is celebrating that 10% of Republican. What he's doing is celebrating that his brand of republicanism, which represents 10% of what Republicans truly represent in this state, will have an outsized role in being able to determine the nominee. Why? While the GOP presidential delegate allocation system in California has been in place for nearly 2 decades, it's poised to make an impact next year, largely because the state's primary is taking place early on March 5th.
yeah, there you
There's an
go.
open race for the Republican nomination. Last year, Trump racked it in, but if a candidate wins less than 1/5 of California's 52 congressional districts, that's still a larger cache of delegates than if he or she wins several other states. New Hampshire, which receives an inordinate amount of media and campaign attention because it traditionally holds the first primary in the nation, has 22 delegates, only 22 total. So in other words, we're calling it the California coup. What they want to do is they know they're going to get their clock cleaned in the early states. What they want to do is use these liberal areas to elect Ron and to allocate Ron more delegates in California.
Well, and even influence some of the conservative. Yeah, and even influence some of the conservative. Even influence some of the conservative areas by getting these congressmen that are in conservative areas to endorse Ron and convince their voters to maybe make the switch. So that's why, you and I would say Trump should get involved in California much earlier than people think and take a stand and say, move his king into position,
David and I know that there are people in the Central Valley, if he does get involved, if he reaches out and does the work, does his it's not even, it's just pick up the phone. They love him. They will roll out the red carpet for him and they will deny DeSantis that chunk of that state. And by the way, which would steamroll, because as Hector says in his comment, if Trump steamrolls them in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, this happened in 2015 and 16. Everyone thought that the alternative to Trump was going to be able to beat him in California and that it would close the race up. But by the time they got to California, Trump had already won so much that he won California. So it didn't matter.
And they're trying to fix it this time around. And
they want to rig it this time.
And the Central Valley, the Central Valley is what got Larry Elder 60% in the gubernatorial race. Okay.
That's right.
This is the area.
Cameron may hit 50, folks, by the way. He may. He's going to be very close to 50% because he's going to go up about to 46.5%, almost 47% in a hot minute. Give it a second. Pretty incredible.
Well, she did get that one county. She's holding that one county. You said.
I told you she's going to hold Taylor. Yeah, and she may.
Congratulations! It's less than 1,500 votes. So
I know.
I mean, it's like
Actually, she's on the verge of losing, Wayne. Never mind. With 28% in now, it's only 1.2% separating her and Quarles, and then Cameron's actually not that far behind. I mean, if it dramatically turned, then Cameron could technically take it, but I think she's getting some little hometown regional advantage here, But you can start to see now, by the way, that I was a little bit more impressed with the Democratic turnout, but we're running out of blue areas now in Kentucky. So you're going to start to see Kentucky's estimated vote share for the Democrat go up. All right. It was bigger than 5-6%.
Here you go, Rich. I'm looking at your tweet. Bro, DeSantis literally endorsed at the 11th hour. It has zero impact.
Have you not seen a Trump endorsement change a race in the last minute?
I support DeSantis and like Cameron, you're making a bigger deal out of it than it is.
It's not. Okay, that's great for them to want to play it and twist it that way, but it's
Well,
absolutely.
if the endorsement made no difference, if it came in the 11th hour, why bother doing it in the first place, right?
Yeah, if an endorsement doesn't make any difference, why bother doing it in the 11th hour? Right. Don't get butthurt. All right. It happened. You all thought. See, what he did is completely negate the point of the tweet, what I said in the rest of that tweet. And we can put it up and I can read it to people. They already thought that Kelly Kraft was on his heels. They thought the endorsement from DeSantis would put her over. They thought it would put her over or at least keep her nipping at his heels. She got blown out. She's going to lose by 30 points. Holy crap. Wake up. Candidates who have this big of a lead don't lose ever.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there's some people that I like, and I think you and I both like that.
They're using him. Right.
I wish didn't make the choices they made because I care about. I would want to see that person be able to not lose influence for my. It's unfortunate. It really is. It's an unfortunate situation. And
it's sad because this guy had such a bright future, David, and now it's going to take something incredibly like an ahistorical event that so far has not broken the Limbaugh rule. Like of these years, nothing has broken the Limbaugh rule. Nothing, So, and that's right. And the undecideds want to support winners. They don't vote for losers. They don't like to vote for losers. So that really is what it comes down to.
Well, and I think you just said, what were you saying before that? Because you had a thought, and it was.
What I was saying before that is he had a bright future. I'll tell you the Limbaugh rule, Courtney, in a second.
The thing that's unfortunate, about that, like you said, is if Trump were to win, the primary and go on to win the presidency, Ron could have been vice president, which would have put him in the driver's seat. And now you would think Trump has a vice presidential pick that puts that person in the driver's seat. So Ron would have to compete with Trump's VP, who is likely going to run if Trump were to win, and he'd have to beat him. And that's that would be nearly impossible. Or her.
And so I can say this though, David, I can tell you this because I know it for a fact because of a certain somebody who just jumped on the DeSantis train that you and I know very well. And I'll leave his name unspoken, but people can, do what they're going to do with it. Ron thinks he's too good to be VP. Ron does not believe
I'll take that job. I'll take that job. It's not that bad of a gig,
And Courtney, I'll tell you what the Limbaugh rule is: that nothing outsiders like the donor class, that now led by Ron DeSantis, nothing the donor class, the consultant class, the ruling class, the media establishment, the administrative state, there's nothing that an outside influence can do to break the bond that Trump has with his share of voters. The only person who can break that bond is Donald Trump. That's it. And he has not done it. And so they don't understand the bond when they come out and say, oh, that's it on abortion. He's finished in Iowa. These people who we just spoke to were like, some of them that were on the fence, I will say, farmers, for instance. Ron had went to Iowa and came back again. And then they saw Trump again and they were reminded, and they would actually ask, but Ron didn't give them the time of day, wouldn't talk to them personally. They had questions like this. What would you do when the question of tariffs came up again, Courtney? Would you use tariffs as a trade negotiation tactic, as a strategy in order to get us favorable status? They would never do it. They dodged the question.
He said, let me go ask Ken Griffin. He said, let me go ask Ken Griffin. I got to ask Ken Griffin if I can do that or not. Let me get him on the phone.
Hold on, Courtney. I got to run this by Ken Griffin and Bigelow and find out if they're cool with that. And by the way, I mean, I got a meeting with the Club for Growth tomorrow, and we're going to have to run that by them too. That's not going to happen. They know it. These people don't normally vote Republican. They didn't for many years. Trump brought them on board. They can't stand the Democratic Party anymore post-Obama, but it doesn't mean that they won't vote for a Joe Biden or they won't vote for somebody who doesn't scare the shit out of them if it means voting against a consultant class Republican who's going to NAFTA them out of existence again. These people, they don't have the partisan feelings that a lot of people on Twitter and others, they don't seem to understand that doesn't really, it's not real life. And to them, no matter who has been the president, George Bush, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Herbert Walker Bush, their lives have not gotten better. Their families' prospects have not gotten any brighter. Their community has not gotten any stronger. So to them, oh, he's a Democrat and they're destroying the country, doesn't mean shit to them. They don't care. It doesn't mean anything. They just view them both as part of the same lot. They really do. It's like they're going to sell you out. Both of them are going to sell you out. It's just, who are you going to get sold out for, and who's going to give you what as a consolation prize? At least Democrats are going to throw you a bone. They're going to throw you scraps, Republicans won't. Mitt Romney's going to laugh with his buddies at Bain all the way to the bank and leave you bankrupt. So then when they looked at Republicans like that, they just don't care. Well, they don't care about these arguments.
I got to pop because the guy's coming for the AC, but I did want to close out and say,
I got to go too.
If you're watching, Mr. President, I hope you back me. Let's win this race, and let's, if I get in, let's kick the donor class in the teeth right here in California of all places, because that would keep them up at night.
That's their Hail Mary. That's their Hail Mary, David. I'm telling you right now, that is Team DeSantis' Hail Mary. They already know that Georgia maybe is going to be one of their more competitive places, but outside of Georgia, I don't think
Georgia's going to.
Well, they think they. I'm just saying what they think.
No, I know what they think. They're going to.
And then they do think they're going to win Florida. Like I'm telling you, I just spoke to one 2 weeks ago. He thinks, even though I showed him how badly, and I wasn't even as bad as the Florida Atlantic University poll.
So I'm saying you're not the only. It's not like you're the only poll. I mean, it's numerous polls now in Florida.
But that's not going to be the way it is by the time we get to Florida.
Oh, when he announces.
Oh, yes, it is Rudy Giuliani. Okay, you're going to lose in Iowa. You're going to lose in New Hampshire. You're going to lose in South Carolina. Then you're going to pivot to Florida, and somehow they're just going to vote for you.
No, and that's you're right. Everybody attaches to the winner. I mean, it's a snowball effect. And before I go, I want you to tell you, go check out the meme that Bruce just posted.
I will. Tell me handicap where you think Kelly Kraft's going to end up.
I mean, it looks pretty consistent. It's probably gonna be around 17, but I mean, if it's some late votes coming in, he could push 50, maybe 15, 17% around there, which is good enough for nothing. So that's right where Ron is, and then they could both talk about how she lost her home county and he might lose his home state. They can bond over that after next November.
You talking about the Don and Deegan winner thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Jeff Rowe. Did you see that?
Oh, the hamburger row?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He did. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. So everybody knows, I said in the beginning, I was trying to be nice. Same loser donor class, same loser consultant class. That's Jeff Rowe. The same people who are helping Ron DeSantis that's why they got Ron to try to.
All right, I'm gonna log off because I don't want to cry for you. So I'll talk to you.
Thanks. I'll see you soon. Okay, brother?
Yeah. Bye.
That's why. So for people who are on Twitter, like, oh, you're making too much of it. No, I'm not. They believed Kelly Kraft was right on Cameron's heels and that they had a chance to embarrass Donald Trump here tonight. And they got DeSantis to go out on a limb because he believed them again. And he looks like an idiot now. I hope he takes a good hard look at Kelly Kraft's share of the vote here, because that's his future. Don't give me this, he's so smart, I think he's on the spectrum nonsense. You can't do basic arithmetic? And you lost the Jacksonville mayoral race tonight. I thought Florida was just the blueprint, was just going to keep rolling to the right. So sick of being attacked by these mindless drones when one thing after the other happens, one thing after the other, and they just Charlie Mike as if they didn't pretend otherwise, as if they didn't believe something different. Donald Trump was making up his indictment to fundraise. Oh, that grifter Rich. Rich is such a grifter. Trump can't be nearing 60 and DeSantis below 20. He's such a grifter. Don't believe that poll. Every other poll comes out confirming it. You think that, oops, looks like I was wrong. Let's take a look at our strategy to see what's wrong. Nope, none of that. Let's go and attack the pollsters. It's pathetic. Daniel Cameron has a tough lift, as any Republican who was going to win tonight has. Although I do 100% believe he was clearly the strongest candidate to take on Andy Bashir. Andy Bashir is still a popular governor. And in governor elections, like I have said a million times, the strict partisan loyalty is not as strong as it is in a presidential election, which is how you can win a state like Florida by almost 20 points. Hell, like Bob McDonnell, you can win the state of Virginia by almost 20 points. And then go on to watch a nail biter in the subsequent presidential election. Just because Andy Bashir, if he holds on this year in November, does that mean Kentucky is at risk of going blue in 24? Without a doubt, Daniel Cameron will have to make the case to 20% of Republican voters that Andy locked down your churches. Andy locked down your schools. Andy hurt your children. Andy cannot be trusted in the event of another crisis like that the next time they manufacture a crisis to defeat a Republican for president. The next time China gets scared of Donald Trump and accidentally unleashes a deadly pathogen on the world, Andy Bashir can't be governor when that happens. That's the case Daniel Cameron's going to have to make. It's not going to be an easy case for any Republican to make. However, it is a Trump plus 26 state. So if you're Andy, you got to take this race seriously no matter what. Now that I'm looking at the turnout, let's take a real quick look at it before we go. Now that we got, more than half of the vote in, you can see even if we factor in for this 9-point difference, we're not talking about 70,000 votes, folks. I mean, Republicans most definitely. Democrats held their own. They did. But Republicans most definitely flex their muscles. Look, there are a lot of votes still out there in Jefferson County. There are a lot of votes still out in Franklin, which is 41, but Jefferson is where the chunk is. It looks like Fayette is in, and you can see Daniel Cameron did leap out a little bit there. Franklin's still kind of tight as far as the actual mark, but it's going to close up. Franklin will probably be about 43% for Daniel Cameron if it continues in the same pattern, but the bottom line is he is at 61% almost of the vote in Jefferson. His vote share has increased with every new drop that has been put out in Jefferson County. This is the Louisville area. All right. He won the Northern Country Club Republican counties. What a shocker. I didn't think he could do that, win those Republican women. Anyway, moving back to Jefferson, where there's still a ton of votes, he is over his statewide margin. If he continues to do as well as he is in places like this, Marshall, let's move up a little bit. Marshall, Christian, he's a little bit lower, but he's got time to pull. See, in Hopkins, he went above 50. Muhlenberg, he'll probably end up above 50. McLean, I wonder if he holds that. It's only 5%. But look, he continues to march towards 50 as more votes get counted in these states. I wonder if Quarles will hold it. It's 80% in. He still has a chance to do that. Logan, it's 1.4%. Look, as all these votes come in, Rockcastle's very close. Pulaski's below it, but what's that? Whitley. Again, if these Western counties, 50 or above, 50% roughly or above, and then you still have this much in Jefferson, and he continues to march higher in Jefferson, he will end up at 50, maybe even a little bit above. All right, we'll have to see, though.
how much of that share he cranks in as it goes up. All right. Interesting race. I'd like to just point out how in the beginning, as when I saw maybe the first 3 counties, because they were indicative of different parts of the state, it is not at all a surprise to me that I ended up calling it correctly and Kelly Kraft is in 3rd place. I don't think she's going to get out of 3rd place. It's probably David's probably right. It's relatively consistent. Maybe you end up a little bit in the 16s, but she is holding her own in some of these other areas. Simpson, she's in 3rd there in 16, but she's above 17 there, above 17 in Muhlenberg. So as Christian, there's a lot more to come in there. 14, hell, maybe not. What's she doing in Jefferson? That's what's going to hurt her. Between the new western counties that are going to roll in and haven't really reported yet. And let me just see this. McLean, I'm curious to see if he holds it. I don't think he will. But as these unreported western counties come in, and let me see if I can see any more. Now we got, there's one on the other thing. Hold on. Graves, Cameron's taking 56.2. Kraft, though, is at 18.5. Actually doing better than Quarles in that area. So it's hit or miss, but don't be surprised if she falls into the 16% range, 16 something. There's just so many damn votes in Jefferson County still left. And there's a lot of votes in these rural areas where she's not doing as well, which we expected. Quarles really targeted rural areas with statewide and local support. And it was a good strategy. It paid off, but you just can't beat a Trump endorsement in this part of the country. You can't do it. And Daniel Cameron's a rock star. He's a rock star. I'm not surprised he's winning this race as solidly as he is. Why is this also, let me just, before I go, why does the donor class consistently want to push a certain kind of Republican, the way a certain Republican looks? And Trump is like an old white guy, right? Rich white guy, but he doesn't represent that. Why does the donor class like Jeff Rowe and company repeatedly feel the need to pick, because they thought they could win Louisville with a white Republican woman who looks like them. You understand what they did here? I got to get a suburban mom looking candidate. Even if she's a mega donor, even if she's out of touch with the party, even if she's out of touch with the people of the state, she looks like that voter the media keeps telling us we can't win. Whole article in the Lincoln Project sourced article in Politico today. Well, you got creamed in these areas. Republican women aren't real suburban women. The Republican woman was a big problem for Republican candidates in 2018. Martha McSally, who also supposedly looked like one of them and can connect with them, lost double-digit, low to mid-teen support among Republican women in the state of Arizona against Kyrsten Sinema. Today, they voted for a black man over someone who looks like them. And it wasn't even close. Can we just be real for a second? Can we just say it out loud? The Republican donor class doesn't want non-white Republicans in the party. They don't like working class whites. They don't like pick yourself up by the bootstrap non-whites. They don't like them. They like white people at the country club who can afford the most expensive bottle of Cristal when they win a Trump plus 30 or a Republican plus 40 district as if it's an accomplishment. You ever stop and consider why they fight so hard against these people? You can't look at Daniel Cameron and say, well, that guy's a rising star. That's probably smart. They're going to come after Mark Robinson in North Carolina too. Already they're doing it. Watch. Why? Because they're not one of them. They talk a good game about expanding the tent. They're full of crap.
They're not one of them. They don't want them. Truth is, Kevin McCarthy talks about, oh, we need more Hispanics. We can win more Hispanics. I would love more Hispanics. Then why is your Hispanic outreach in Bakersfield? White Bakersfield. You may be able to fool some anchor on Fox News, but I'm from these areas of the country. And KGG, they're going to try. You watch. They're going to get smoked. Mark's going to smoke them. He is going to smoke them. But they're going to try. Attacks against Mehmet Oz. You think they didn't know they were planting in the minds of Western Pennsylvanians that he's a Turk? He's a Turk. He's a Turk. He's got dual citizenship. He's a Turk. Give me that crap. Absolutely, they do that. Vernon Jones. They have to smear Vernon. And look, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, you know how many people probably have the same skeletons in their closet as Vernon Jones, but they didn't do it to them, did they? In fact, I know one specifically who had a lot of skeletons in his closet running from Congress in that same damn state. They didn't touch him at all. Why? Because he looks like them. That's why. So the next time you hear them say about how they want to expand the tent, you better know that that is a load of crap. People I used to talk to, have good relationships with, respect, knew them during the Trump administration, saw them, they were all about the so-called working class message, who are now anti-Trump, used to repeatedly drone on and whine and lament about how the jobs reports under Donald Trump didn't help you-know-who. Looks like all these non-college Hispanics are getting these jobs. What about non-college whites? It's an element. It's got to be addressed. Black small business ownership looks like it's doing amazing. Well, that's great. They didn't elect him. Okay, do you want to expand the tent or not? They don't. They absolutely don't. And yes, Courtney, I absolutely think they're going to hold those stories if in a snowball's chance in hell he is the nominee. Then they will release those stories and they will hurt him. Absolutely, Andrew. They expect Hispanics to grovel to them because Democrats are so bad. But they want to treat them the way Democrats treat black people. Absolutely. It's a dark part of this primary that's going to be exposed, and someone's going to have to start talking about it. Because before I go, I got to say this. I have been hammering this for a long time because it's true. MAGA is younger. MAGA is more diverse. MAGA is less white. It's more dynamic. Isn't that what they claimed they wanted in 2012 when Mitt Romney lost? Isn't that what they claim they wanted? Really? They were just full of crap. And if anybody else, and this is not in defense of Trump or anything, this is objective. This is just an objective statement of fact I am going to say right now. If any other candidate, not named Donald Trump, had the lead, forget about the influence over primaries. Look at this. Bing! Another red one on the board. You see that? If anybody else not named Donald Trump had a lead like Donald Trump has in the Republican nomination polling right now, they would be declaring this race over. Oh, no need to mount that insurgency. This race is over. Fox News would be telling you it's all, but it's over. It's inevitable. Move on. Don't waste the money. You know what? In fact, if you waste that money trying to fight this guy, you're bad. You could be spending it on beating the Democrat. Are you a Democrat? That's how, the way they have treated Republican voters for years is unbelievable. And now here we are. This is what they say they wanted. And as it turns out, what really matters most to them is whether or not they have a seat at the table, whether or not they can use a 40-something-year-old man who has a bright future as a puppet in order to make $30 million against a guy they know they have about a 1% chance of beating. They don't give a damn because they want their cars, they want their houses, they want their fancy dinners, they want their invites to parties. And boy, they hate Donald Trump because he represents their irrelevance in that world. Did they resurrect clips of Rush Limbaugh here? Do they know better than Rush Limbaugh? They know the Republican voter better than Rush Limbaugh? They know the country better than Rush Limbaugh? I think a lot of people get it confused that when I make these arguments, I'm somehow like advocating for a candidate. And in truth, that's not even what I'm doing. I'm advocating for the obvious vast majority that we just spoke to in our polling. From Florida, nationally, to Texas, to Florida, his own home state. I am advocating for the senior in Monroe who was like, why does he think we're stupid running all over the country, all over the world, pretending like he's not running for president or something? He's not trying to bring any jobs back to Florida. He's running for president. Why does he have to like treat us like we're imbeciles? That's who I'm advocating for. Not a politician. Or a non-politician, whatever you want to call them. Not anybody running for president. How about that? Does that satisfy everybody? Shame on them, man. Shame on them. And there we have it. And I didn't even know that I was off the screen that entire time. But here we are. Again, there's Kelly Kraft below into 16%. Before I do any kind of Irish jig in victory, and only because the victory isn't it just looked like she was going to come in third to me. Let's see how it ends up and shakes out, and we're going to talk about it more in depth tomorrow. Jacksonville mayoral race is a major defeat for Republicans. There's no way to cut it. Honestly, I don't give a damn what anybody says. They can try to spin this all they want. Tonight was a very bad night for Ron DeSantis. They lost a mayoral race in a state. Listen, Trump barely lost that area. He lost it by about what the margin's going to shake out to be in this mayoral race. The entire argument was predicated on how under Ron DeSantis's tutelage, the state has gotten redder and redder and redder, super, super red because of the Florida model. Come on, guys. We cut the crap with the spin. And in truth, here we are. And this is a bad result. That's a bad result for Florida Republicans. They probably should have won that race. She was a very good candidate. Doesn't hurt to be pretty for sure either. I mean, look, it doesn't. She was an attractive candidate in every sense of the word. It was a good candidate. But it doesn't matter. It's supposed to be super, super partisan now. We only lost Jacksonville because of Trump. That's it. It was all his fault. If he wasn't on the ballot, we'd be fine. See? Look how much better we do when he's not on the ballot. right? Major loss for biggest losers tonight. You got to put number one again, the mega donor class. The donor class, the Republican donor class, major losers tonight. Second biggest loser, I'm going to put as Ron DeSantis before the consultant class because they are the same. His consultants are the same as Kelly Kraft's consultants. They're exactly the same. But I have to put him as a bigger loser because he's got more to lose and because he's listening to them. We got to put them as the third biggest loser because at least they got one win, which was to dupe him into endorsing Kelly Kraft because they really believed that Kelly was about to overtake Daniel Cameron, or at least had a chance to. The race was tightening and tightening quick. Don't let anybody BS you. They believe that. As sure as I was here telling you who the Gravitas endorsement was, as sure as I was here telling you that they were meeting behind Trump's back, getting this thing together, as sure as I was telling you that a year ago he was singing a very different tune. So, in order, one more time, the Republican donor class, Ron DeSantis, and the consultant class. And the only reason why the consultant class didn't get in before the Ron DeSantis second biggest loser of the night is because at least they got one single win, which was to dupe Ron DeSantis into backing Kelly Kraft. So now he looks like another loser in a proxy war against Donald Trump. David made a really good point before. I don't know a single candidate that DeSantis went off and endorsed on his own that won. O'Day got crushed. That's the only one. Even if there are other ones, there's no big ones. O'Day was running for U.S. Senate in Colorado. Everybody with the same damn narrative that we're told all the time was saying that it's not Republicans, it's not their breed in Colorado, it's Trump. It's Trump, it's Trump. O'Day trashed Trump. Trump publicly trashed O'Day, and then Ron DeSantis endorsed O'Day. O'Day gets his ass kicked. We gotta stop. Gotta stop. And Kelly Kraft didn't even get first place in the list of major losers tonight. She didn't. You know what? Because I don't at all. Here, so I gotta put this up. Here's why. Because Steve Bannon's right. These people can just cut these kinds of checks, guys, and it doesn't disrupt their lifestyle at all. So, I mean, that's really it. And plus, I think maybe I'd still put her in the somewhat mega donor class. She is in the donor class. That's her. She is a donor. So I guess maybe I'll give her a little bit of top loser with that. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, noon, Eastern Standard Time. And we'll also talk a little bit more, too, about California, because I got some numbers in California. It's not done, but I can show you where it looks right now. Doesn't look any better. Let's see where we're at. Hold on. Give you a little sneak peek. It'll change tomorrow, but it'll give you a little sneak peek. The only bright spot is that Trump is not at 50. That's the only bright spot for them. All right, so hang on. By the way, we're also getting ready to finish up a poll in a certain part of Texas, a part where it is textbook Trump hurt us territory. Wait till you see that. That's going to be great. I don't think David knows I'm still on, Laura. Can you tell him I'm still on? All right. You better worry about what you're going to do, David, because I'm telling you right now, they're going to lose that seat, brother. They are most definitely going to lose that seat. Oh my God, never mind. Trump just crossed 50. Never mind. DeSantis 17.1. Trump 50.3. Never mind. Last, I swear to God, the last I just looked at it, it was like Trump 46, DeSantis 19, or something like that. All right. So never mind. Let's see what happens when, Cali's easier for them to make a stand, Jim. And that's a great last question before we go. Cali's easier for them to make a stand because all of the establishment Republicans and elected and former electeds hate Donald Trump's guts. They all have favors out to people who are in positions right now. The establishment has basically waged a hostile takeover of even the most, not even MAGA, but even the most conservative areas of the state where they're like true, not rhino Republicans. Kevin McCarthy has been grooming Jessica Patterson as his number 2. She wants to be the RNC chair eventually. That's what I hear. All right. And they basically are going to use, look, Tom McClintock, he had Nathan Magzig knocking on his back door in the primary in 2022. His wife had just passed away. Nathan Magzig was running a pretty downright dirty campaign against him, and Kevin McCarthy was playing both sides of the fence. Donald Trump comes in, endorses Tom McClintock, and McClintock winds up pulling away within a week, and he wins it in a landslide. Well, Tom McClintock's going to endorse DeSantis now. And I can go down the line because there are so many other. By the way, John Duarte will be one of them. Mark my words. He hasn't publicly said anything, but he hates Donald Trump. This is a load of crap. So they have the apparatus there, or at least they think so. They have the apparatus there to try to beat him in the delegate count, at least. In the delegate count. All right? We'll see how it goes. But that's why. In a state like Texas, and what were the other ones used? In New York, they don't have that. Elise Stefanik is Trump train all the way. The people who really sling up there. Trump is going to crush it in New York, and New York Republicans love Trump. They love him. New Jersey's another one. So who's up there still? Think about it. All right, the Van Drews and how right. So that's who still has play in the game. And those are big delegate states, Massachusetts, look at Trump's performance in Dorchester from 2016 to 2020. By the way, look at the 5 boroughs. So they can't stop him there. They can't. It's a different breed of republicanism. And the Northeastern Republican, Barnes and I have talked a lot about, the ones who have not left yet, they are not pretend Republicans trying to be, live side by side with Democrats as long as Democrats throw them a few scraps here and there. That's who Republicans are in California. They remind me of battered women. Okay, just don't hit me one more time and I'll rub your back. And I'm not mocking battered women. I'm saying legitimately, that's what I would, the analogy I would draw to these people. The Trump culture of winning is alive and well in Kentucky, Cameron said. Yep. I do like Lee Zeldin, Hector. I do. You're funny, Hector. You did this to me the other day. You're funny, Hector. I'm telling you. You did this to me the other day, too. I've been thinking about somebody like a Lee Zeldin, because the truth is Trump doesn't need a Mike Pence anymore. He needs something different this time. You want to recreate the magic, but you can't recreate the environment. And there are things that constantly change. 2016 will never be duplicated. 2020 was never going to be like 2016, even though Trump was ahead until COVID. And 2024, as I talked about on Monday's show, doesn't look anything like 2020 anymore. Nothing. There are similarities to 2016, but in many ways, a lot of things that are different. All right, so we'll talk more about this when we'll see what this map looks like by the time we get there tomorrow. But it does look like he's clawing his way to 50. There is still, let me see. There is still a good amount of vote out where he is above 50%. As we can see, the Logan is little though. He keeps that one's close. Butler's a little close, and that's in though. But we'll see if Carl's can hold him down by performing better than not expected, not by my standard. I knew he would do good
like this in the rural areas. Let's see if he can keep Cameron below 50 by just taking a little chunk here and there out of the rurals where Cameron would need it to pull above 50. But, you know, it's going to be tough because Cameron's vote share goes up as these more votes come in each individual county. So even though he doesn't look like he's pulling in 50 plus, he's at 44%, and then he goes to 46. It's because he is getting that vote share. But he's almost out. There's almost about a third of the vote that's left out in Jefferson, where he's above 60, and that's his best bet to help pull him as close to 50 as possible. But he would still need to perform like in Hopkins across most of the rest of these western counties. And if he does, he'll get to 50. And if he does, Kelly Kraft is going to fall closer to 16%, 17. But we'll see. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks because I do have a show to prepare for tomorrow. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming by. It was a big audience for a paid show or a member-only show.
Cool
So awesome. There's Laura, by the way. Our son did well during his time.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go watch my son's concert.
That's gonna be epic.
That's my
He's
boy.
gonna want to watch it with you.
He's gonna want to watch it with me. All right. Hopefully he's ready for bed and we can just kind of veg and watch it. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time. All right. And don't forget, I'm going to be tweeting out Jeremy's interview with me. That's awesome. And I'll retweet. I think I did already. The article, which is of Jeremy and I's interview in Human Events. Poso did it. It's pretty cool. Go check it out. All right. And I will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm out like trout. Deuces.